And we are back. Episode 6. Can you believe it, babe? It has been 6 weeks since we started this.
It is absolutely insane. I'm going to be honest. I didn't think we would get past like maybe the 3 or 4 week mark.
I didn't think
because I didn't think we were going to get traction.
I didn't think people would have the attention span to listen to us repeat the same shit over and over and over again. I will say that I do feel like our podcast is evolving a little bit. Like we're not just regurgitating things because we are evolving. We're doing work off camera to like grow
a lot.
But it's wild that this is taking shape and our subscribers are growing and AJ and the Patreon and like it's wild to me. It is wild. For those of you on the podcast that is not watching on YouTube or listening on YouTube, we do have a Patreon channel. It is To Be Better, patreon.com/To Be Better. There's a lot of content on there that is exclusive content. We highly recommend that you subscribe to the Patreon.
Yeah.
There is a fee for it to be on there. It's not much. We have a $5, $10, and $15 tier. The $5 tier is a thank you. You get our gratitude. 10 and 15 get you unlimited unfettered access to the content that we're putting on there, as well as live streams if you go to the VIP one, which we are working on. I have had
bad luck with capture cards.
I hate technology. So real quick, just to give you guys an update, I was supposed to have bought the CamLink Pro from Elgato because it's got 4 HDMIs because I want to eventually be able to run 3 or 4 cameras because I want to grow this room.
Right.
And I'm going to put this out there now. I believe that within 6 months, AJ is going to be here. Haven't talked to him about it.
You mean here, like in?
I'm willing. I'm putting it into the universe, and I know he's going to hear this.
Yeah.
I think in 6 months, AJ will be here. Even if that means he's behind the scenes or he's on camera, I believe he will be in Florida or he will somehow be active on the podcast remotely. I'm not sure how that's going to happen. I don't know if it's even possible. I'm speaking that into the universe.
That's crazy.
I think it's going to happen.
Why do I agree with you though?
Because there's things that he wants to do that we are able to help him do while he's helping us with this.
Right.
I have the ability to give him a tattoo apprenticeship and put him to work immediately. You know what I mean?
And it's not like has he tattooed yet? Because I know he's
done a couple, but his apprenticeship was a sham.
Right.
It was manual labor. They wanted somebody to make t-shirts and do shit for the shop and had no real intention of teaching him to do his job. And I can navigate that very well. I've done it. I've had I think we're at this point, I think we've had like 14 or 15 apprentices and some of them have gone on to open their own shops and I don't know. So I'm speaking that into existence. Oh, so the capture card, we got the four port capture card. The one that came was not the one I ordered, so I had to send it back to Amazon by AKA dropping it off at Kohl's and get a refund. Bought the new capture card, got it to the computer, and was like, I'm going to have my guy come and do all this. And I was like, it's not hard to put something in a PCI slot. I'm just going to do that, and I'll figure it out. Well, for some reason, my motherboard is not powering my PCI slot properly because I don't think there's enough juice running from my 1200 watt PSU to the motherboard because we didn't hook up all the connectors. And I don't know which ones go where. So he's still going to have to come. He's coming Saturday night at 6 o'clock to fix that. We got a Stream Deck, which I'm super pumped about. Because instead of having to put all of this into Premiere and then chop it all, I can record us live on OBS. And every time you go to talk, I can push a button and your camera will be live.
Right.
And when I take back over, I can push my button and it'll go live. And when AJ's here, AJ can sit right there to my right and he can push those buttons and we can have an organic conversation.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of AJ, he's blowing my shit up right now.
I'm gonna be honest.
We just got an email.
Oh wow.
You're gonna be honest?
Oh, that whole time you were saying like parts of your computer. I'm over here nodding. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I just said the F word.
Yep. So we are trying not to do that. So let's try to be a little more cautious. I'm using fudge and frickin' because I need it's my verbal patch to quit my cursing smoking.
Like your nicotine patch.
Yeah. And it sounds so stupid hearing my big butt go, fudge.
Yeah, not gonna lie. You said that in the last one and it tickled me a little bit.
Yeah, it's dumb. But I am actively trying. And though I don't have a problem with language, even in my spirituality, it doesn't bother me because it's words that we've created.
Right.
So the intent is there, but it bothers my mom. And because it bothers my adopted mom, I'm trying to be better for her. So that's the whole reason that we're not saying the F word.
It's the onesie.
Yep, it's your onesie. All right. Okay. Hopefully there's no more distractions. I'm going to start over with a disclaimer because I feel like I need to now. We are not professionals. Everything that we do is purely opinion-based. We are giving tools and tips. And okay, I'll wait on you to.
I'm so sorry. I'm so excited. It's pink.
Yeah, you told me you're going to redo your hair, so.
I am. Yeah. I was going to surprise everybody, but you said it.
Yeah, well, I like the pink, so.
Then why did you agree to the red?
Because sometimes change is nice.
Ooh, that's nice. Ooh. I'm gonna have to be careful with my pocket zipping this thing up.
Yeah.
I had a moment of understanding.
I love that you just called that your pocket.
Well, I don't know if I could say vagina on YouTube.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I don't think that's a problem.
I have to be careful with my vagina in this, guys. Because the zipper, it goes all the way down, right? Like that's right there.
There are going to be so many jokes in the comments.
Well, I zipped it up like it was a ball sack. And I was like, I understand what it's like to be a man now. No.
That's so funny.
Like do you have to like consciously think about that when you're zipping up your pants or something? No, like if you're free balling it?
I don't free ball. I wear really expensive Tommy John underwear because my boys need to feel safe, secure, and in place at all times because I'm old and I will sit on them. So
for the men who do free ball it, like, do you have to like constantly think, don't zip up the balls?
Yeah, because everyone has done it at least once. That pinch is something you will never forget.
I'm horrified of it. Yeah. I'm so glad I don't wear regular jeans. I wear jeggings, so I just pull them up. I don't have to worry about a zipper.
This devolved very quickly.
This just went downhill.
Yeah. Yep.
So back to the disclaimer.
I mean, at this point, what else can I say? You guys know what you're getting yourselves into. This is pure debauchery at this point.
Yeah. We are not licensed by anybody to giving the advice that we are.
Yeah. We're speaking on opinions, talking about the things that has helped us, and in doing so, people have taken the advice and used it, and some have not. And either way, we just want you to enjoy our podcast. Right. In the event that you find value here, please share the podcast. Yes. Give it to somebody that you think can find value. Send it to a toxic family member. Send it to somebody that it may trigger. Send it to somebody you love. Either way, we want to inspire people to have better communication and just be better people.
Yes.
We have 3 emails. Mm-hmm. One of them is extremely short. I have topics of conversations that I would like to get into. How would you like to navigate today's podcast?
So I think we should save the 2 topics for last.
Okay.
Knock out the first update, like grateful email, and then get into the other ones we discussed.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, let's do that. I'm easy with that.
All right. So the first one is, hi from rainy, cold Indiana. I wish I was there. That sounds so nice. I'm the wife that went back to work full time. So for context, if you guys haven't seen that episode, she has been a stay-at-home mom. Her kids are grown. She became a stay-at-home wife, and she kind of like lost her place in the universe. So she was thinking about going back to work full time, and this is the update. I just wanted to update my 2 favorite traditional marriage people. Thank you. I put my first 7 days straight of work last week. I was exhausted, but in a really good way. I truly enjoyed being back around my customers and feeling a different sense of purpose. My husband and 14-year-old were amazing. I was surprised at how quickly we got into a new routine. Every day, my husband tells me how proud he is of me for doing such a good job at work and at home. While he's always felt pride in my homekeeping, somehow this feeling of pride just hits different, with a little happy emoji.
Yeah, I'm sure that it does.
Mm-hmm. While we are still figuring out the details, we are working as a team to make it work. We talk every day on what we can do to make things happen and keep our marriage a priority. Communication is key, kids.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like we say that all the time, huh?
Right. If anyone says different, they are nuts.
Yeah.
Have a fantastic day, both of you.
So what do you think it is? I'm asking you this, not them. What do you think it is that would make that pride and being back into the workforce different than the pride of being home when he says, I'm proud of you?
I think it's acknowledging a couple of different things. So her going back into the work, don't do the elaborate. I'm elaborating.
Come on, woman. Give it up.
Oh, that makes me want to shut up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that all it takes?
You know exactly what it takes, and I can't say it on the internet. So her going back into the workforce was a source of anxiety for her. So that I'm proud of you is acknowledging, like, even though I know this was a hard transition for you, you're doing it. And then it's acknowledging that this new happiness in her life, like, I'm proud of you for finding that happiness. It's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that she's still doing the at-home work while doing the outside sources of work. I'm pretty sure they talked about splitting things as well.
Yeah.
And she's keeping up on all of it. She could have just gone back to work and said, screw this, I'm not doing anything at home.
Yeah. She could have also stayed home and dealt with the mental health issues she was dealing
Yeah.
with. Yep. They say that you will never create change in your life until the discomfort of changing is less than the discomfort you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a lot of, I don't know why I sound so weird today. There's a whole lot of things that come into play when it comes to making change like that, especially in that scenario, because she very easily could have just been like, this is my life. I don't want to go back to work. And then just dealt with the fact that she was going through isolation issues and
depression.
Right.
We read a lot of emails, so I'm not recalling every detail. So I might have this mixed with another one, but wasn't she saying that she also was like kind of losing herself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She said that she was a very, I don't want to say extroverted person, but she enjoyed having that interaction as a server. That was one of her things. So she got a job and they hired her as a manager right off rip because of previous experience. So she went right back into the workforce after years of not working, right into a management role. Whew. And she's thriving, which I think is amazing because
I love that for her. Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't go back into that. Between the pandemic, yes, that was intentional. And the hurricane, I have isolated more in the last 3 years than I have in the last 10 combined. And I find myself getting anxious going into public.
Me too.
Like today, for example, I had to go to the tax collector's office to deal with the homestead exemption for the house because it didn't get done when we moved in. And knowing that I had to walk into that building and talk to people, like I was like almost having a panic attack over it. Turns out that the lady that helped me was one of our customers and knew who I was the moment I walked in the door, which was super dope because it made the entire experience really well. Mm-hmm. And when I left, you never you ever say things to somebody and you're like, okay, that was really stupid. Why did I say that?
Constantly.
I was like, thank you for being so pleasant as I walked out the door. And I'm like, that was the dumbest thing that I possibly could have said. But
why?
Because who says that?
Nobody says that, but I think that's what makes it special. If I had an interaction with someone, they were like, thank you for being so pleasant.
Yeah.
Like, damn, you're welcome.
Yeah. Well,
I know there's a lot of shitty people in the world and there's a lot of rough interaction. Right. So for someone to tell me like you've been a joy to interact with, I would want to hear that every day.
Yeah. She told me about her kids and her grandkids and like she's older than I am. But it was very cool. Like we talked about photography and vacations and like nothing that had anything to do. Like she's just chatting me up while she was doing the paperwork.
Right.
And when we were done, she was like, this should be everything. And in the event that it gets kicked out of the system, you'll be notified, but that's it. And I'm like, I don't have to do anything else. Like, cause I brought my little packet of paper that I printed off the internet and I was like, I don't know if this is what you need. And she's like, you're further along than everyone else. But it was literally a 15-minute conversation about her kids and tattoos and photography. Yeah, which was kind of cool. But she was just very pleasant. It made the whole experience very well for me because normally people hate their jobs and they don't want to have conversations. They're very like,
don't interact with me. I just need to get your work done and you can get out.
Yeah. So it was very nice. And I left and I was like, I walked out the door and I giggled and I was like, I can't believe I just said you were very pleasant. Thanks for being pleasant.
I don't think that's silly. Nobody says that. Like
I was loud as shit about it because I was like 3 booths down.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
I love that. I love that you said that. That probably made her day.
It might have. I felt dumb as shit walking out of that building though.
No.
Yep.
See, people feeling dumb like that after being like nice to another human being is why people aren't nice anymore.
Probably.
I think that's part of the reason.
Probably. I don't remember why that got brought up.
Me either. I'm glad you said it though. Made me happy.
Yeah.
You want to go on to another email?
Yep, let's go.
Hello and good morning. I have so many questions, but to start off, I will begin with one. Thank you, because I can't take so much in one go. It's
one at a time,
confusing.
Please.
I'm like a fish, like don't tap on the glass, I'll panic. First, here's some background info. I am a 31-year-old female, and I have been with my 30-year-old boyfriend for 2 years. Okay, cougar. I live on my own, completely alone and very independent. I pay all of my own bills, maintain my own car, maintain my household, protect my own household, etc. Of course, if I need him, he is there. He does help me with some of the household projects and things I need help with and is always my protector. I have always been very independent and extremely proud of my independence and being able to be successful on my own. I love that for her. My boyfriend lives at home with his parents and takes on majority of the financials in that household and is somewhat independent in his own ways while there. We have no children together and there are no plans on taking the next step, moving in together, at least not anytime soon. It's not that I do not want to take that step. I definitely do, but he is not ready for that. partly because he does not want to leave his parents and partly because of the following. So I'm going to pause.
Okay.
So she's saying that he lives at home with his parents, has most of financial responsibility there, and he doesn't want to leave his parents. Is it for like a medical thing? Is he like a caretaker?
I don't know.
I feel like that's important context.
It could be that they just don't have the finances to survive on a retirement fund.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a lot of things, but it could also be that he's just not comfortable leaving.
Right. That's why I'm asking, because if it's not like him comfortable being an adult on his own, that's different from his mom's on a ventilator and he needs to be there while his dad works or something.
Context matters.
He is very traditional in his ways and wants a traditional relationship where I submit to him and he is the man of the household. She did the quotation marks.
On submit or man of the household?
Man of the household.
Okay.
At first, to me, this was crazy. I could never see myself doing this. As I said before, I am very proud and have worked very hard to be as independent as I am and was raised to not depend on anyone to take care of me. Same. And now look at me. However, I have been looking into it since this relationship. This is the first man I have ever dated that wanted this, and listening to your podcast and watching your TikToks a lot. This has really helped me better understand and appreciate the traditional way of life. Oh, I love that. I like sharing the happiness. I feel like Tinkerbell, just like little glitter.
Your traps look pretty good over there.
Oh, yeah? You want me to? I can't. I'm going to do it. No, I can't. I was going to flex my biceps. I'm like, no, what if they look really wimpy? I can't have men in the comments saying, you call those traps. I'm a lady. I'm trying my best. Whew. That was a roller coaster for me. Next time I'm just going to do it because confidence, but not right now. I love the TikToks are helping. The problem we are running into is my boyfriend. Oh, he wants the traditional relationship now.
While he's not living
While
there.
we are boyfriend and girlfriend living separately.
So okay. I'll wait because she may get into it.
Right. Like, what is he wanting?
Right. There's a whole lot of questions running through my mind right now.
I don't know how this would work, as from what I've learned, in order for me to safely and comfortably submit, I need to be safely and comfortably led.
Yes, ma'am.
That's it.
Yes, ma'am.
That is the sentence.
Yeah. Do not submit to a man that is not comfortable leading, and do not submit to a man that you cannot trust.
I wish everybody knew that sentence.
Read it one more time, just for those, so that they don't have to go back and 30-second listen again.
So from what I've learned, in order for me to safely and comfortably submit, I need to be safely and comfortably led.
Yeah.
That's the sentence.
That's good.
I'm so glad she said that. It's giving me goosebumps. I am not necessarily saying I need him to move in and pay my bills and all of this in order for me to submit. True. Mm-hmm. But I am saying I don't see how I can make this transition while being just boyfriend and girlfriend living separately. I hope that makes sense. It does. You know, when you are trying to navigate something you never thought you would ever have and like never even looked into it, it can be confusing. When you and I were still in the dating phase, I feel like I did things a wife would do.
You treated me like a wife from day one.
Yeah.
Yep. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. You from day one, the very first date, after we had that date and we decided we were going to make a run at this, you have treated me as if you were my wife since the beginning. Mm-hmm. There has not been a single day where I was like, nah, she's girlfriend material, but meh.
Yeah.
Not once. Not a single time.
Good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read, she has like one more paragraph left, and then I'm going to elaborate on the things that we did while dating and not living together. We are at this point where we can just not get on the same page, and is causing a lot of arguing and questioning in our relationship. I do not want this to be the cause of our breakup, and it's not something I am not willing to work on. I just don't currently know how. How did you as a couple do this in the beginning of your relationship, and what advice or assistance can you give us? This will be greatly appreciated. If you need any more info, please let me know. I can almost guarantee I will have more questions.
Well, and we will follow up, email the shit out of this. And we will go back and forth with you and continue to make these recordings as long as you're sending emails. We enjoy the follow-up emails a lot. It makes me feel really good.
Me too.
There's so much. Did it say in the beginning how long they've been together?
They've been together for 2 years.
Okay. So they're still relatively new. They're not living together, so they're not playing house, which is a big deal. It's given them a lot of time to get to know each other.
Right.
Figure out the quirks. Obviously, when they move in together, if they move in together, that's going to change things because you don't realize
how much you don't know about somebody until you live together.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, there's so many questions.
Right.
That there's so many things I don't understand. How is he? Damn. Slow down, brain.
So are you going to say a question?
I'm going to make a statement, and I'm not going to elaborate on it, but you'll know what I'm talking about. And this is more for you than for anyone else. All that's running through my head right now is the whole Adam and Eve thing that we talked about yesterday in the car or on the couch, wherever we were when we had the discussion.
Right.
About how, he who finds a wife and how a husband is not a husband until he has a wife.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was in my head the entire time you were reading that email, because he's wanting her to treat him
right
that way
when she's not a wife.
But he's not giving that. Right. Yep.
It's a whole thing.
It is.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot.
That was my entire thought process. Go ahead, though, because you might be able to clear out some of my questions.
So my questions are, what is he expecting you to do? Like, is he wanting you to come over when you're done working and cook him dinner? Is he wanting you to run and get his groceries while he's doing whatever? There's a lot that goes into that.
Let's elaborate on those.
Okay.
So he doesn't live there.
Right. He lives at his parents'.
So in order for that to work, the cooking aspect, that should be done at her house.
Right.
Because she's the independent one.
Yeah. So he should be coming over.
Right. And I'm not saying that she has to cook for him every night, but that would be the first step, I think, is if, obviously she works, she's doing the thing on her own. She's got to make her own dinner, make enough for a second person and invite him over, make it during the daytime. Hey, are you coming over tonight? If so, I'd like to have dinner made by 7.
Or you could even like cook dinner and then the next day just take him as lunch.
Right.
Surprise him.
Right. Or have lunch ready to go when he leaves the next morning if he stays the night, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
As for the grocery shopping thing, I don't think that she should be grocery shopping and taking it to his parents' house. That sounds
right. That's why I'm asking, like, what is he wanting?
Right. For her to maintain that life is different if it's at her place.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know how this would work. Like in my head, there's not a scenario where I'm like, okay, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do until you move in together. Because it's all hypotheticals. I definitely think the cooking aspect should be done at her house. I don't know how far away they live from each other. If they live in a town like we do, you can get anywhere in our town in 15 minutes. So to run somebody a lunch or bring them the lunch at breakfast time in the morning, if he happens to go home, or leftovers or something like that, that's easy. And I don't care how this sounds on the internet. A woman making like our lunch or our breakfast is a big deal.
Right.
And there are a lot of people out there, I can do it myself. I have working hands. It's not the point. It's a an act of love.
Right.
I want you to make sure that you're fed. Here you go, baby. I got your food. So that would be a big thing, and if they're going for the traditional relationship, maybe that is something he wants.
Right.
Is he expecting her to come over and do his laundry? I'm not okay with that.
Right.
Like, because they're not living together.
Yeah. When we were dating, so she asked what we did. So when we were dating, you moved into a new house. I went and I did all the shopping for your new house. I got you cleaning supplies, all the basic house need, trash bags, garbage cans, that kind of stuff. You didn't ask me to do that.
Right.
I did it for you.
I'm going to talk about a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Because I went from living as a roommate to somebody's house to getting my own place and having my bedroom set up, and that was it. I had no living room furniture, no kitchen furniture, no kitchen anything. Like I was starting back over again in life.
Right.
That was a pleasant thought. I just haven't thought about that since it's happened, because we've been one thing after another over and over and over again.
It's been nonstop.
Yep. But you're right. You did do all that.
Yeah,
that was super awesome.
I deep cleaned the bathroom for you after you moved in, because I'm sure it hadn't been clean in a while.
Yeah.
I cleaned out the freezer for you and the ice box. When I would spend the night, I would cook you dinner.
Yep.
I don't think I ever did your laundry when we weren't living together.
Yes, you did.
I put your clothes away for you.
You absolutely did my laundry.
Did I?
Yep. You didn't do it a lot, but you absolutely did do my laundry.
Oh, I did. I recall one time you were out doing something for the shop. I spent the night. I got up. You were gone. You were working out.
I came home and I'm like, did you start the laundry?
Yeah, I did.
I remember that conversation. You were like,
I
needed to get done. I was like, thank you.
Yeah. Wow. One thing that I remember you doing when we were still in the dating phase. Were we in the dating phase for that?
I don't know what you're talking about, so I can't say for sure.
I don't remember if we were still just friends or if we were dating at that point, but my car battery wasn't starting.
We were still just friends at that point.
Yeah.
So there were a few things that happened when we were just like, I got to be honest, even though we weren't intimate,
right.
we were, I look back at that in hindsight 2020, it all looks like a courting phase to me.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, it is like, every time you had a problem, you called me.
Yeah.
Every time I had a problem, I called you. If we wanted to do something, we did it together, even though it was not an intimate thing. It was just us building a foundation. But yeah, you called because your truck wouldn't start, and I went and bought jumper cables so that you could keep them in your car and came over and jumped your vehicle. Yep. You also had that problem with the neighbor.
Yeah.
You called me at like 11 o'clock at night, and I jumped in the car and brought over my pew, make sure you were safe. Yeah, I mean that's very much a thing. I was still a protector, even though I wasn't committed to you in any way, shape, or form at that point. I just wanted to make sure you were safe. You were important to me.
And then when we actually started dating, we were living separately, but we were committed to each other.
Yeah.
I was always readily available to you. There was never one time I didn't answer my phone when you called.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. And if you needed something from me, like to help with the business or whatever, I would help. I would go out of my way and help you.
Yeah. Yeah, you treated me like a wife from the beginning.
Yeah. It's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, I mean, but it really comes down to it. Like, so people are going to hear this, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you were submissive to me or anything in that aspect. Like, we were working as a team right off rip.
Yeah.
And it was because you wanted to. And it wasn't because I needed it or because I needed help from time to time, but there was never a time where I was like, hey, and had to beg. Like, I would just mention something and you're like, yeah, I got you.
Right.
And that's the way we had our foundation. There was never a time where you needed something and I was like, yeah, I can't do that. Sorry. Get wrecked. Like that was never a thing. We just started working together effectively or efficiently right away.
Yeah.
I really don't know how they would do this living apart, because other than the food thing, I don't see a way, because he lives with his parents. Like, how awkward would that be if she was over there spending the night and doing his laundry in his parents' house?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
That sounded really dick of me.
Why?
Because he's a 32-year-old man living with his parents, or a 30-year-old man living with his parents. I didn't mean, I guess maybe that might have been the way it sounded in my head, and there was not an actual inflection there, but I wouldn't go to his parents' house and do his laundry.
It did not sound like that.
Okay, good. Because in my head, it absolutely did. I was like, okay, that might have been more harsh than I intended.
I agree, though. I would feel uncomfortable. I don't view anything wrong. Like, if he's there for a reason, like financial support, helping out, sick parent, whatever,
Medical.
Dope. I would not feel comfortable having sex knowing that somebody's ill mother is upstairs.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I agree with that.
I would not be okay with doing laundry and then I have to have a conversation with your dad.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable. Yeah, that's a really it's a unique situation to navigate.
Yeah, it is. But and I also, because we don't have enough information on what he's trying to do, that he wants that traditional life. Is he trying to handle your finances? Because that would be a big red flag too, because you got your own place and you guys are not living together. I really feel like a traditional relationship happens once you move in. Yeah. Because you're playing marriage at that point. Like you're getting ready for that next step when you move in with somebody. Obviously that's not the case for everyone.
Right. I think even during the dating phase, like if someone's spending the night at their house 3 nights a week, you could do it those 3 nights, you know?
Right. If he's staying there though, but because he lives with his parents, she can't do those things.
Right.
Okay, here's some other things.
Okay.
Is he opening the car doors for you?
Ooh.
That's a genuine thought. Like, is he, when he, oh, well, it's her place. She's used to protecting herself. So I'm sure she sleeps on the side closest to the door. Mm-hmm. Where do you walk when you're walking near traffic? You know, these are things from a man's standpoint.
Right.
Excuse me. I would listen to the gentleman episode that we did.
Yeah.
And go through a mental checklist and be like, he does this, 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 and this. And if you go, he doesn't do this, 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 and this, and only does this and this, you're like, okay, well, wait a minute now. Because then you can see that he's not living the life of a gentleman.
Right.
I think that's going to be my answer to this.
That's a good answer. The more that I think about this, the more I'm like, wow, this is like complicated.
It is.
Because there's not a lot of background information. So I would sit down and have a conversation of expectations in a traditional relationship. And like she said, I can't comfortably submit if I can't be led.
Right. Well, and that comes down to him opening the doors, paying for dinner.
Not even just that. If he's living at home because he's not comfortable living as an adult.
He's no leadership there.
That's not,
right.
You're not stepping up to the role of a traditional man. You can't expect a traditional woman when you want to be babied at home.
Because then you're looking for a mommy, not a wife.
Nobody out here is going to be a mommy.
I disagree.
Yeah?
You've seen the comments on our TikToks.
Oh, yeah, no. Nobody is willingly wanting to be a mommy.
They don't want it, but that's what they fall into.
There are preventative measures to that, but every single person who views himself as a mommy in a relationship hates it.
Yeah.
So nobody's willing to be like, yeah, let me be your mommy.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless it's like a fetish thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's a whole different conversation. You're right on that, on the leadership thing.
Yeah.
That's a damn good point. If he's living at his parents' because he's just afraid to do it on his own, which the email doesn't say why he's there. It just says to help them. It could be financially. And if that's the case and he moves in with you and is helping you financially, it will eliminate some of the financial aspect going to the parents, but he could still probably make that work.
Right.
Because you're already doing that. You know what I mean? And if the parents are ill and on their way out the door, how long is that going to be? You know what I mean? If he's got to stay there and you guys are just dating for the next 6 years while he's living with his parents' house and you guys haven't taken the next step, are you willing to do that? Because in your 30s,
right,
do you really want to dedicate the next 5 to 10 years of living separately and not having that life because you're now interested in having traditional values, traditional marriage or a traditional relationship because it's piquing your interest? And as an independent woman like that, if you can be that boss outside of everything and come home and be able to just be in your feminine and enjoy your life with a man that is comfortable leading, that you trust, it will change the way that you view the world.
It will.
At least you say that all the time.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that I'm not speaking from my point of view. I'm speaking from what you've told me.
From what I've told you, all of that is accurate. Yes. I also want to piggyback on you saying, like, are you okay with living separate for 5 to 10 years? If it came down to it and he's helping be caretaker, would you be willing to move in with him and be his wife while he's taking care of things as a family, as a man?
Right.
Because a real man would step up and be like, my mom's dying.
Right.
I need to be here for her. Like, as a man, I view it as my duty to be here and help and take care. I do want to have this life with you. I want to be your man and do the traditional thing with you. Would you be willing to move in if all of that plays out that way and help him take care of his family?
Right. I think that in that scenario, I think that the next steps of the relationship need to be discussed too. And there definitely needs to be contracts drawn out. And I don't mean that in terms of like legal documents. I mean in terms of like
Ground
expectations and this is how this is going to play out. You're responsible for this. I'm responsible for this. And screw that entire scenario. Do you know how hard that would be for her to move from being completely independent to living with a man? Because there's a whole lot of hurdles right there just moving in together. That's a difficult thing. The excitement's there right away. But when that excitement wears off and you're finding out each other's quirks and there's the frustration that starts to set on like the nonsense, because it happens with everyone, you also have to deal with the parents on top of that.
Right.
That adds a whole new level of stress, layer of stress. That's I would if I was her, I would want a whole lot of commitment before I did that.
Oh yeah. But that could be a possibility because we don't know why he's there. There's a whole plethora of scenarios here.
Do you think that you would, if we never lived together and I wanted to marry you, that you would wait? Would you be willing to wait to marry somebody and move in after the marriage? Like
in this scenario?
Yeah. Well, in any of them, because like when I think of that, I personally would not.
No,
I would want to live with you first. I want to know your dirty habits. I want to know if we're going to be able to sustain.
Oh yeah, no,
this
definitely.
situation moving forward.
I would not marry anybody without living with them.
Right.
God no.
That's what I was getting at.
What if they wake up at 3 a.m. every night and cry?
Why is it always coming down to crying?
I don't know. It's things I've experienced.
You had a dude that would wake up in the middle of the night and cry?
Sometimes.
Oh, wow.
No, thank you.
I was more along the lines of like,
they pick their boogers and put it on the bathroom wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty specific too.
Experience.
I was going to go along the lines of like leaving the bathroom floor wet after a shower or not, I don't know. I wasn't going to go that disgusting, but you're right. I mean, there's some grossness out there. I don't know.
Yeah. People do some really weird shit. I could keep going.
I please don't. I need a follow-up email.
Yeah, I need more.
Yeah. I'm invested at this point and I'm nosy as shit. So
Right,
I
like-
want to know how he plans on leading. And that's what I would ask him.
Oh yeah.
You want a traditional value relationship and this is what you're telling me you want. Tell me how you're going to make this work in our living situations.
I know what you want from me. What are you willing to give me in return for what you want from me?
Because it is teamwork. And I don't see a way for us to have teamwork when we're living in separate houses without, me doing all the work and you benefiting from it.
Right.
Because there should be an ebb and flow there. And if he's not financially supporting or emotionally supporting. What are you doing?
Moving because my back hurts.
Or stepping up and doing all the car maintenance and all the things that, the blue jobs, things that a man are supposed to do, then it sounds like she would just be doing a whole lot of extra work for nothing.
Right.
Yep.
That's unappealing.
It does. Yeah. I don't see a value in it at all. Sounds like he gets an extra mommy to bring him lunch.
That made me nauseous. Because I've been in that relationship. Like, I've done the whole independent woman thing. I lived on my own with my kids and paid all the bills and worked 80 hours a week and fixed my own faucet in this kitchen. All of it. I've done it all. And I've done all of that while being with a man. It's just like having a third child. No, thank you. Too much. Or like a super chubby dog. Next email.
I'm glad that you weren't describing me as that.
No.
I heard that and I'm like, damn, what is she going to ever say about me when I'm not there?
I'm not referring to one of my exes.
Just promise me that if you ever refer to me as an animal, it will be a grizzly bear.
I've done that now.
Okay.
I've called you a polar bear.
Yeah, grizzly bear.
Okay.
Because that can encompass the bigness of me. And not make me mad about being fluffy.
I'm not referring to one of my exes. Just in general, a human is larger than a dog. They're going to weigh more than a dog.
You said chubby specifically.
Right,
okay.
Chubby. Chunky boys. That's not a negative thing.
Okay. I like them big.
Hey.
Oh, I'm so stupid.
You said something about my traps, and now I can like feel them right here. And I'm like, yeah.
I can see your collarbones.
I work out.
Work out.
Hey. Okay. Are we done with that?
Sure.
I don't have anything to elaborate on.
I'm nosy. I need more context.
Yeah,
Please, for the love of God, send more emails.
So I don't like drama and I don't like gossiping, but I like hearing things because my life is boring. Like I'm such a peaceful person. I don't want to argue with people. I want to know everything though. Like, oh my God, Jessica did that. I want to know if Jessica has a dog. Elaborate.
Would it be a labradoodle?
Ha!
Dad joke. It wasn't that funny.
He said a labradoodle. So the next one is, how do you guys tackle conflict when you want to deal with it differently?
We thumb wrestle.
I've wanted to.
Could you imagine if that's how we settle things? Rock, paper, scissors.
I would crush you. Like 8 out of 10 times.
That's how the kids determine who's taking a bath first.
Yeah, it is.
That's conflict resolution 101 in our home.
I actually implemented that. They told me they learned rock, paper, scissors. They don't play it right.
Right, no.
They throw scissors every single time and I just pick a child. They'll be like, rock, paper, scissors, and they'll both throw scissors and they'll look at me. I'll be like, you won! You're going first. The other one gets all upset, like, I should have threw paper. You still would have lost, but... My partner is the type to tackle conflict head on no matter what it takes. I am the type that when it's getting heated or I'm too overwhelmed, I like to take space and come back later.
Good.
That's the way to do it. Mm-hmm. He's wrong.
How do they deal with it though? Like, how do they deliver that?
Let's see. I feel like either way, someone is giving up something that they need.
Because he needs conflict resolution immediately and she likes to calm down.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like, in my experience, when I needed conflict resolution, like in the moment, it's because I'm panicking.
Right.
Like, I need this over now so I can feel better. I feel like taking space. Oh, well, now I feel bad. So I've been saying he, and it's a woman. Oh. So it's 2 women. I apologize. I hope I didn't offend anybody.
No, I mean, we didn't get to that far in the email yet, so.
I feel like taking space leaves her hurting and thinking I just don't want to deal with the issue at hand. On the other hand, I feel like I articulate my feelings properly or handle the situation the correct way when I'm overwhelmed and I'm taking the chance of making it worse. What do you guys do? We take space.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
I've never played that, so you would win every time.
You just thumb button mash. There's no rhyme or reason to it.
So just thumb war at that point.
Yeah, that was more of a joke. I have a lot of thoughts on this whole process, but ultimately it comes down to compromise. Relationships are compromise.
Right.
Everything that you're going to do with your partner comes down to you compromising unless one of you has final decision in something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have somebody that has final decision in something and you're going to live that way, that person has ultimate say on the way things are going to go.
Right. So I want to clarify, this isn't in an argument where like, I'm right, you're wrong, that's final decision.
Right.
The final decision on like, you guys are talking about buying a new house.
Right.
And in our family, you're the final decision maker. So I'll give you my opinions, and what you've shown me in the past, you heavily consider my opinion.
Right.
You handle finances though. That is far too overwhelming for me. I've done the finances thing. I don't like it. It caused me to spiral.
Right.
So final decision is you decide whether or not we'll be able to afford the house. And then from there, I unleash everything. I trust your decision making.
Right.
So,
but we don't have to compromise.
Right.
So in the event that that we're going to buy a new house and you're against it and I'm for it and we are arguing over that, or you state your piece and I have final say in that scenario, you've
Right.
given me you've granted me the authority to make that decision. So
Right.
there's no compromise in that aspect. And that's what I was getting at.
okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Right.
Because I don't want people in the comments saying, oh, so
He
he
just
gets to
gets in the
decide
car.
whether or not if he's right.
You know that somebody would have done that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
We
That's
ha-
why I clarified.
We had this conversation before we got on the podcast. I'm going to say it.
You're going to say it.
Well, I'm going to say it. We've been watching The Chosen.
Yeah, we have.
And I'm hooked on that
God,
show.
it's so good.
We've binge watched the first and second season. We're almost done.
It hasn't even been a week.
Yeah, which says a lot because we've been recording, dealing with kids. So like we're 2 or 3
Right.
episodes a day at this point. Jesus in that show keeps saying that my message isn't for everyone, and those who need to understand it will. So before we sat down on the podcast, I reiterated that point because we get a lot of shitty comments.
We do.
And I'm at the point now where like those who need to hear what we're saying, hear us and send us emails saying, thank you. You just saved my marriage from divorce.
You know, it's even people who have been against the shit that we're saying.
Yeah. We get a lot of that too.
Like people are hardcore triggered by
Yeah.
the things we say, but it's those same people who are triggered are like, okay, why is this bothering me so much? And then they do the dirty work and they realize like, damn.
Yeah. I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
So for the people that wouldn't have understood what I was saying just then, it was because you didn't need to.
Right.
You just mind your business.
Yeah.
Go back to, I don't know, eating your pudding.
Ooh. You tell them.
Your bland vanilla pudding. No, but I am glad that you actually reiterated that point
Yeah.
because there would have been comments like that. Now I don't have to read them. So dope. But it does come down to compromise. And if you are one of those people that need that instant, if she is the one that needs that instant resolution of conflict and you are somebody who shuts down in conflict, you have to find that medium. So in conflict, are you saying, I can't do this right now? And then you walk out of the room?
Right.
Because in that scenario, you are not ending things. You are
Storming off.
Right. You're storming off, stonewalling.
Yeah.
That is a whole nother problem in itself. Now, in the middle of conflict, because I am that person, I want conflict resolution immediately.
I am not.
Right. So this is a good way for us to deal with this
Yeah.
conversation because when you are processing and you're like, I need time to process this, I'm like, okay, cool. Because you're not mad about it. You're not mean
Right.
about it. You're not shitting on me in any way. We're just having a conversation. Even if you are vehemently angry with me, which
Right.
I have pissed you off a couple of times. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We don't fight, but I have definitely pissed you off. You're like, I need a moment to process this. And when you say that, I'm like, okay, she's got to get her thoughts together so we're not going to argue. That's immediately where my brain goes. I'm like, yes, I'm not going to fight.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's not it changes the entire feeling of the day.
Right.
Because if you're like super pissed off and giving me the silent treatment, I'm gonna match that energy. And now we're both going to be at odds all day long until you're ready to deal with things, or the next day when you're ready to deal with
Right.
things. And we don't do that. So being able to be like, I need time to process how I want to deal with this. I'm not mad at you right now. I don't want to fight. I just need to understand what's happening so that we can move forward.
Right.
You are diffusing the situation. You are making the conflict and the feeling of tension dissipate, which is a big deal. And they're going to feel like there was some sort of conflict resolution because they're not going to feel like you're harboring ill will or resentment towards them
Right.
during
Or that you're thinking of leaving them.
which very much could be a thing. It very much could be a thing.
So I'm going to throw myself under the bus right now.
Do it.
We had a very tense discussion a few weeks ago. And we were standing in the kitchen. We made an exchange. At that point, we were on the same page of things. Like, we had an understanding of what happened. And I was like, okay, I'm leaving. And I walked away from you. And as I was turning to walk away, I saw the look on your face and I was like, I just did a really shitty thing. So I grabbed my purse, I turned around, I came back into the kitchen. I'm like, I'm sorry that I just did that. And I said, I'm not leaving because I'm angry. I'm leaving because I need to process.
Right.
And I was like, I love you. I'm not thinking about leaving you. I just need to walk away for a minute.
It sounded almost exactly like that.
Yeah. Because I caught, like, even when I walked away and said, okay, I'm leaving, I said it super shitty. Like, I had a really bad tone. And in the moment when I was saying it, I didn't realize how shitty it was until after it left my mouth and I saw the look on your face. So that was kind of like, I checked myself and I came back and I corrected it and I apologized. I never want to leave like that.
Right. To be fair, you also had to leave. It wasn't like, because
Right.
in the
I had
moment
an
you had
appointment.
something you had to do. So you were leaving because you had to, not because you wanted to. Although
Right.
it was beneficial because it did give you time to process.
Right.
You also said that I'm going to process this, and when I come home, I'm going to be in a better mood.
I did say that, yeah.
Although at the time, that's not what I heard. I heard F you, I'm leaving, because of the tone of your voice when you walked out the door. And even though you turned around and corrected it, because that had already been stated, the tone was set. And I'm gonna throw myself under the bus because when you got home, I was livid.
Yeah, you ignored me.
Yeah, I was pissed. And I don't get mad like that.
Right.
Like, it took everything I had not to blow your phone up the entire time that you were gone doing what you were doing because I was so angry. And because we don't do that.
Right.
Like, you actually yelled at me, and that's a whole nother discussion, but it's not because you were intending to yell at me. Because of your autism, you don't check your volume sometimes.
I have really poor volume control.
Right.
So when I'm super emotional, like, I can't hear myself. So when I'm yelling at you, I think I'm talking like this.
Right.
I literally can't gauge it. That's why I need the reminders of, like, even when we're in intense discussions, if you say, like, you don't have to yell at me right now, I'm like, oh, damn, I'm yelling. And I check myself. I don't get mad at you.
Right.
Even if you say it's super shitty. Because in that moment, I'm in the wrong. Right. I'm raising my voice.
Well, it's easier to say something along the lines of, like, you're at an 11 right now, babe. Because now you realize you're yelling, and I'm not being like, quit yelling at me. Because, that's never going to solve anything.
Right.
But I let you yell because I know that you do that. We've had this discussion since the beginning. I know that you can't volume check when you're emotional. Your emotional mind doesn't allow you to do that.
Right.
And you're learning things about my borderline that you'd never known, because I had a full meltdown the other day. You got to see a side of me the other day that you've never seen before.
No.
What a roller coaster that day was. Anyways, that whole scenario with the kitchen thing really did come down to tone and inflection. And that was a perfect example. That was the absolute perfect example of what I was describing.
So, and I want to point out, even though I came back and I corrected myself and I had a better tone about things, you were still pissed at me.
Yeah, because of the initial engagement.
That's why it's important to work on yourself. I don't ever want that to happen again.
Right, I don't either.
So even when we're in a tense moment, I'm going to check myself and say, even though I'm mad, do not walk away shitty.
Yeah. It's also the first time you've ever left without giving me a kiss.
Oh, I didn't even recognize that.
It was also part of my anger.
I'm so sorry.
It is what it is.
Oh, no.
We had a whole lot back and forth that day. It was a very intense conversation that went on and on and on.
That legit makes me want to cry. Like, I feel myself. I am so sorry.
You were angry.
That doesn't excuse it.
No, I know. You're going to ruin your makeup.
I know. I'm trying to look at the light.
Does that work?
Yeah, sometimes.
For those of you who are listening on the podcast right now, you are missing a hell of a face as she's pulling her eyelids down.
Because it helps it well and not spill over onto my makeup.
I am so glad I don't wear makeup.
I want a Snickers. It'll make me feel better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You want me to DoorDash you a candy bar?
No, because I can't eat chocolate.
We have keto ice cream that I bought.
I can't ruin my traps.
Yep.
I'm so sorry.
Babe, that day was a shit show.
I know, but I still feel awful.
You know that even in that entire scenario, because that was our third argument that we've had, that was the third time that I viewed a conversation as an actual argument.
Right.
It wasn't, there was, other than the moment before you left, there was no yelling. You did catch yourself yelling on the couch.
Yeah, I did.
When you started to raise your voice, you were like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that."
I did catch myself.
So you were So now you're starting to become aware of how you're talking. We also learned that what each other say and what each other hears might not be the same thing. So we have to start working on defining things and then repeating and validating. That was pretty much the entire argument, was the lack of validation.
Right.
Because I thought the situation was over with and you didn't. it's kind of irrelevant. But,
right. But
even in that scenario, we had a 2 or 3 minute engagement right before you left where there was like anger, hostility.
Right.
And then when you came back, I had anger and hostility. You took a bath, had a meltdown because I ignored you.
Yeah.
And then when you came back out, you were like, I want to talk to you. And like, I set my phone down and you were like, are you calm? And I'm like, I am now. I wasn't a minute ago. I was still fuming. I needed that time to process everything. But even in my anger, I didn't lash out. I wasn't mean to you. I just didn't put my phone down when you walked in the door and acknowledge you right away, which bothered you.
Because you always do. It made me feel like your respect changes for me when you're upset with me.
No,
It's the ice maker, I think.
I hate that thing so much. It's a safety mechanism for me.
Right.
Like when I get mad like that, I don't want to talk, and I just like that chick. Like I either need to resolution of what's going on. Like I need to resolve the conflict, or I need time to really calm down because I'm too angry to deal with things.
Right.
And in the moment when you walked in, I was like angry. And in the event that you came in and tried to talk to me in that moment, I would have been like, I can't right now. I would have absolutely been like, I need a minute. Like, but
I feel like that should have been stated anyway.
It should have, but there's growing pains, know, even though we have this awesome communication and this great back and forth and we don't really have a lot of conflict, there are times where there's still going to be tension. It's going to be like that for everyone, but our levels of tension is so much less. It's never gone above a 3 as far as I'm concerned on a scale like 1 to 10. And those 3s, because it is such a small scale and that's the worst we've ever felt like, still feels like a lot, but I know it could be so much worse than it is.
Right.
But we are still navigating things and trying to learn how to course correct when things start to go bad between the two of us.
Right.
And it's going to take a lot longer for us to have those conversations because we hardly ever have them. So when we do have them, it's like, oh God, what did I do? How do I fix this? What do I,
Right.
But I couldn't imagine being in a scenario because of how peaceful all of this is, where there's constant tension and conflict.
Yeah, me either.
That's wild.
It is wild.
We're 54 minutes in.
Oh, wow.
And we've hit 3 emails.
Have we hit 3 emails? Wow. I feel really bad about not kissing you before I left that time. I feel awful because I make it a point, even when I'm like frustrated with you or there's tension between us, I make it a point to kiss you goodbye, to kiss you when I come home, to serve you your food for lunch or whatever. Like,
yeah, you do still do the food thing, even in conflict.
I ask you if you need anything when I'm going out.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm frustrated with you, you're still my husband.
Right. Well, it's
I'm not going to treat you differently.
It's because we still love each other too.
Right.
We don't, and I think that comes down to remembering that it's the two of us versus the problem instead of us versus each other.
Right.
And it's also important to remember that if you're in a conflict where you feel you're right and your partner's wrong, you're not winning.
Right.
Even if you're right and you make them feel like you're right and you won the argument, you lost. Because how is that going to play out? They are going to be pissed at you for the rest of the day because you won the argument. That's not winning. I would rather resolve the situation, both of us be right and have a great day, because if one's wrong, you're both wrong.
Right.
There's just not a way to win that scenario.
So in this scenario where she's talking about what our opinions are on it, I would ask her, sit down and have a conversation and say, I notice when we argue, you need instant resolution.
Right.
Why is that? Why do you view that it's a not okay, or it's going to add to the argument if I need 5 minutes to calm down?
Yeah.
For me, that's a childhood thing.
It could be. It could be a trauma response.
Right.
It could be abandonment issues. It could be a lot of things.
So I don't know. She didn't really elaborate on anything in the relationship. Just that's a problem for them. If you know their past, try to connect dots together.
Yeah, absolutely. Damn good point, babe.
Like if you experience this in your childhood, maybe that's why it's bleeding into your adult life and you feel like I can't walk away because you think I'm going to be mad at you forever, or I'm thinking about leaving you. Due to your abandonment issues, every time we're in an argument, I sometimes I'll go sit in the car and cry because I'm a very emotional person. I need to cry to feel better. Or like I go for a drive. Before I leave, I always tell you I'm not thinking about leaving you. Like I'm going to come home.
Yeah. Those scenarios where you leave to cry though, this is going to sound really shitty. Oh, this is going to sound so bad. I appreciate you doing that.
I know, because of your childhood, you can't handle it.
I cannot handle when a woman cries around me.
Right.
I disassociate. I shut down. I shut off my emotional brain completely. It can get very bad for me when that happens.
Right.
I don't do well with that. And it doesn't matter who the woman is. I could not know you. And if you start crying in front of me, I'm like, oh God, what do I do?
Right.
How do I make this stop?
Just straight panic.
Oh, it's bad. So I actually appreciate that you do that. But you do that because you know my trauma, my childhood.
I don't want to be sitting in the bathroom with you listening to me crying. Why would I do that to you? That's a me problem.
Yeah.
That's how I cope with my emotions is I scream and I cry and I ugly sob and I have snot on my face sometimes. Like when I feel intense motions, that's the only outlet I have.
Right.
Just because I have to go through that doesn't mean you have to sit there and listen to me go through it.
I think it's important that you say that because that's going to be people in the comments. Oh, you don't come for your girl when you cry. Blah, 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 blah. I've watched you get angry and cry. I've watched you watch TV and cry. Like some people are just criers.
There are times that you've held me while I'm sobbing.
Yeah.
Those are different scenarios though.
Right.
When you and I are in an argument and I'm crying because of whatever situation we're in, I don't want that you to correlate that to you're the reason I'm crying.
Right.
That's another big deal for me.
And most of the time you tell me that.
Right.
Because that makes it so that we're not like at odds over the fact that I've hurt you. And I think it's important that people know that. It comes down to knowing how to communicate with your partner. I know. Like I can tell when you need to be held cried and like when you're just frustrated and you don't know how to find your words.
Right.
I've seen it happen while we were driving. You know, like you just get to that point sometimes where you know, it could be your autism, it could be your trauma, it could be a lot of things. I don't know what makes you do that, but I always just chalk it up to that's the way you deal with shit. I'm not a crier. Like it takes a lot to get me to that point. And when I'm getting to that point, there's a lot going on in my brain and I just don't know how to process what's happening. So I assume that's what's happening with you.
Right. I think growing up, crying was like the one thing that I could do. I didn't feel like I had anybody to talk to. You know, if I had issues going on where I would like go to my dad wasn't there. So I would just cry. That was my outlet. And I think now that I'm going through this whole journey that I'm on, I'm starting to realize I have different outlets now.
Yeah.
Like I'm allowing myself to recognize that I have other outlets. I don't just have to cry to feel better.
Right. That's important.
Right. So I think I'm coping with that a little bit more better.
Personal growth is wild, isn't it?
It is insane.
So I haven't spoke to my biological mother in 13 years. Not a word. Before that, I was radio silent for like 6. So we had like a 2-year span where we talked again and then radio silence. There was a time where I didn't speak to my biological or my adopted mother either. And it wasn't because of a falling out or anything. It's just life happens.
Right.
And like they weren't here. They moved to Tennessee and like that closeness had dissipated because they moved away. And now I have somebody to call.
Right.
And now I also realized last night at 3:00 in the morning while I was staring at the ceiling wide awake that I could have gotten up and walked out here and called JJ because he drives all night long. And while he's on the road with his Bluetooth in his ear, I could have actually called and talked to him on the phone for the full 2 hours that I was awake last night.
Right.
Instead of laying there freaking out over everything that I was freaking out that had nothing to do with anything that I absolutely could. I was stressed out over insurance at 2:30 in the morning last night because I put in for the $1 million umbrella policy on the house for the solar panels so that I can get the solar panels engaged through Florida Power at 2:30 in the morning. Who does that? That was my entire 2-hour thought process last night. I laid awake freaking out over insurance, freaking out over car payments, couldn't remember if I paid them. So of course I had to get on my phone. So now that I've got my phone in my hand and I've got the light in my eyes, I'm definitely not going back to sleep.
Right.
And then I spent about 45 minutes praying, talking to God about JJ and my mom because I felt like they were going through something. Obviously my mom was asleep, but I knew JJ was at work. And then this morning at 6:00, she messaged me and she's like, hey, if you get a chance, pray for JJ today.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, I did that last night, but what's going on? And she told me, and had I known, I could have just called him last night. We'd have been able to resolve both of our bullshit because I was going through it.
Right.
I don't know.
Maybe that's why you woke up.
I believe that was, but I think that I didn't correlate being able to call someone at 2:00 in the morning because the only people that I know that's up that late is not going to understand my need.
Right.
So, and I wouldn't put that on those people anyways.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Do you want to touch on your 2 points in your notebook?
I have actually, those are going to be long discussions, but I have a sinus thing going. So I'm going to blow my nose before we do that.
Okay.
That way I'm not snorting snot back up there.
I appreciate that.
All right. Let's see here.
Holy shit. So we got another email. So do you remember the person that commented and said, how does it work when she's injured, like stuck in a bed with a broken leg? Do you remember responding to that in one of your TikToks?
Say that again.
How does it work when she's injured, like stuck in bed with a broken leg?
Yes, I do remember that.
She emailed us.
No.
She did.
Read it. Let's go.
Okay. Are we going to include this?
Yeah, fuck it. Fudge it. Freaking A.
Okay, hang on.
I made it this
I'm all over the
entire
place.
podcast without the F-bomb until just now.
Okay.
At least I don't think I did it.
So, Are we going to pick it up here?
I'm going to include all that little back and forth just now. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
So do you want to elaborate on that TikTok?
So I don't remember the TikTok specifically, but you were a little offended that they asked this question.
I was offended because it's a gotcha. Everybody's a gotcha to me.
It's not, though.
Ooh.
It's not a gotcha.
Okay, run it.
So she said, "Dear Chris and Khrys, I just wanted to offer an apology if there was an insult or rudeness in my question. How does it work when she's injured, like stuck in a bed with a broken leg? Thank you for your reply back. I was curious, as I know similar couples who practice traditional values. As each relationship is different, I had a genuine curiosity. I know one couple who hires a maid. I know another who has a relative come to help. I know one man who told his wife those were her duties and she needed to find a way to make sure they were complete.
Wow.
My husband and I have been together for 20 years. My parents were in a May-December relationship. So she says there was a 25-year age difference between them.
Oh, well, there you go.
Married for 37 years before his passing. At the time of his death, my father was 86 and my mother was 61. So vast differences in what traditional meant. My father was a welder. My mother was a heavy-duty mechanic.
Heavy-duty mechanic.
It says mechanist.
Machinist?
Machinist.
I'm just guessing. I don't have the email pulled up.
It's machinist.
Oh, well, there you go.
I said mechanist. My husband and I do not have a traditional role marriage. We share all the duties of everything in our lives. We raised 5 wonderful beings who are now adults, but in raising them, it was not uncommon for Dad to cook or bake with the boys, while I had our daughters outside working on our cars. We raised our children to understand both roles as a way to help their partner when the other one needed the extra support.
Good.
Smart.
Yep.
Our boys can bake one hell of a cheesecake. Oh, I love cheesecake.
Yeah, same.
And our girls can change out brakes and rotors like nobody's business.
That's good too.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I can say I never touched a door. He tells the waitstaff my order, makes me walk on the inside of the sidewalk, and huffs at me if I don't let him. We raised our boys to do the same and give that respect to their partners, and our girls accept nothing less than respect.
I love that.
Me too. When I was recovering from surgery, I was not allowed to leave the bed. He carried me everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Got some interesting looks from the neighbors at him hauling me around. To give context, I am 6'4" and he is 5'10".
What?
Good for him. He's out here literally walking around a goddess. I bet he felt like the big dick on the block. My husband and I are complete opposites. My weakness and his strength and vice versa. Oh, my weakness is his strength and vice versa.
Right.
We work well off with each other. We work well off and with each other. Like when they're individual? Mm-hmm. Okay. He's my best friend. I hate to cook. Was used as a form of punishment when I was younger. My husband loves to cook. So our deal is he cooks and I clean.
Sounds like teamwork.
It does. I think that your openness in your relationship is refreshing. It helps others see things that could be a benefit in their own lives. I really enjoy your content and I follow both of you. I have shown my husband several of your videos. He commented not too long ago. The whole email's gone. He commented not too long ago on a household chore. He laughed and said he knew the real reason why I would never let him do laundry. Men can't fold towels the right way.
Oh, come on. But wait a minute. Because our mothers teach us how to fold towels. So, you talking about my mama? No.
Let's see. Men can't fold towels the right way. Men do not know sheet witchcraft. Folding fitted sheets.
No, I get that. Yeah, fitted sheets get balled up and thrown in the back of the closet. I'm not folding that.
Same.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's wrinkled because it can get stretched over the bed.
Right. You're going to lay on it.
Yep.
And they don't care if their white underwear and socks are pink. Just throw it all in.
Yeah, because nobody's going to see them but you. But I wear black socks, so that'll never happen.
Right. I just felt like something was missing from the origin of where my question came from. Again, no insult behind it, just a genuine curiosity about how you two make it all work. I just started listening to your podcast and have several of my coworkers hooked.
Yeah, this is going to be a doozy when you hear this one.
Right? You guys are amazing, and I'm sorry if my question came across as crass or rude.
So your email, your question on the TikTok, I remember the question.
Right.
Didn't read as anything other than the way it read.
Right.
I took it that way because we get so many emails like, well, what are you going to do if she does this?
Right.
I'm going to help.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a piece of shit. And like it's a me thing. I get angry at those emails. And that's something that you and I have talked a lot about over the last 2 or 3 days. I am getting past the shitty comments.
Right.
It's taken a lot. I'm letting go of a lot of things, and I'm giving a lot of it to God. I'm like, I'm just not going to deal with this. If you want me to keep doing this, I'm going to keep doing it. I know the attacks are going to come.
That's how I feel about it.
Is what it is. And it's why this is so light now. None of our podcasts before today will sound like this one has.
Right.
Because we are a lot more lighthearted. And we're not angry. We're not absorbing this.
It's not as heavy.
We're just having the conversations that we're supposed to be having.
I want to say that I love that you responded so rudely to her question and she still enjoys our content.
I do too. I mean, she's
That's
a better
so
person than
dope.
I am because I'd be like, screw these guys. I was serious just asking a question. Actually, I'd have been in the comments and be like, damn, I just needed to know.
I didn't mean it that way.
My husband carries me around and he's like 5 inches shorter than me. I just needed to know if I was doing the right thing. I don't know. I'd have totally felt bad over that.
Right.
I know that traditional values to everyone means that a man doesn't do dishes and a man doesn't do laundry.
Right.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I do believe blue jobs and pink jobs most of the time,
It's also about teamwork.
but it's about teamwork. The more time that you are cleaning, cooking, doing laundry, homework, getting the kids in a bath, it's less time that you and I get to spend together. So let's say you get home at 6:30 after you pick the kids up and little man's got homework.
Right.
And you got to, the young lady in our life, I'm trying really hard to say their names.
Princess.
The young lady in our lives has to have a bath while little man does his homework. And the dishwasher still needs to be ran, and food needs to be figured out. I'm gonna help a little man with the homework while you give the bath because I don't do
Right.
baths. That's mom's department. Homework's gonna get done. You to be clear, if they were my kids, I would have no problem giving them a bath. But because I'm stepdad, I'm not doing that.
Right.
Okay. So I'm doing homework. You're doing the bath. I'm going to show little man how to throw a dishwasher pod in the dishwasher because that would be fun for him.
Right.
Hit the button on the dishwasher. Now that's 3 of the 4 things taken care of. While he's looking at his paper for homework, I'm going to hit DoorDash. Because now, while you're giving the bath, the food is being picked up. We just covered 4 instances that would have taken you all night to do by yourself.
In
And I
30
get
minutes.
3 hours with you.
Yeah.
Where we get to lay around, watch TV, cuddle, talk shit to each other, make fart jokes, eat cheese out of a bowl with a spoon like it's cereal.
Are you saying you like me?
I love you. I think that the way that we operate
Right.
is the most impressive thing that
Yeah.
I've ever had because a lot of the times it happens in silence. Every once in a while, you're like, babe, I really don't want to cook tonight. I'm like, cool, what are we getting? Buffalo Wild Wings? I love my little chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm a 40-year-old who eats chicken nuggets because my wings are boneless. I'm okay with it.
Damn, those are chicken nuggets.
Yeah, they're flavored chicken nuggets. And I don't have to get nothing on my hands. I can just fork them.
Yeah. I love that.
But that's the goal. So when I
Right.
see questions like that, it comes from a place of, the frustration comes from a place of knowing that there are men out there who refuse to do the jobs simply because they don't want to do them.
Right.
I hate doing dishes. I would rather you punch me in the face than have to do the dishes, but I have a dishwasher and it's brand new. It's 2 years old
Yeah.
and it works. So in the event that I got to quickly rinse things off in really hot water and throw them in the dishwasher with a dishwasser pot or 2, whatever, I don't care. I'll do it. If I had to stand there and hand wash them the entire time, I would complain the entire time. But I don't have a problem doing dishes.
Right.
And I really enjoy helping little man with his homework because I'm able to relate to him and his homework goes faster that way.
Right.
And I'm teaching him cognitive memory. So like, because for example, he's learning his letters right now.
Right.
And one of the things that he has to do is he has a front and back paper and it's based off the letters. So if he has L, there's lemons and limes and there's all these things on the paper that starts with L and he has to color them in.
Yeah.
On the back page, there's a lot of the same things. There's a ladder, a locket. So I'm like, all right, bro, which ones do you remember from the other page? He's like, this one, this one, this one, this one. I'm like, those all start with L. Yep. And he just colors them real quick. And then we have to figure out the rest of them.
Right.
But I'm teaching him that pattern recognition. So he now knows these things because it's how he's going to learn. And it makes me feel like I'm raising a young man. I'm doing a
Right.
good thing. So
He also does this thing. So he's in speech therapy and he's really big on like, for G, he'll like touch his throat and he'll go, "Guh, guh,
Yeah.
guh." He'll do that. So you noticed that because he's learning that in the speech therapy. We were working on the letter H and you were holding his hand in front of your mouth and going,
Yeah.
so you could feel
the wind.
Yeah. And then he started doing it.
Yep.
So every time he found something that started with H, he'd be like, okay, do it.
Yeah.
Telling me I'm right.
Yeah.
So like you were able to connect with him in a way that he understands. So he's actually retaining information.
Right. And he does that now.
So dope.
Yeah, it's exciting. And it's good to see that he's able to do these things. So when I get emails like that, I get comments like that, it does come from a place of frustration because I know that there are men out there who are not holding up their end of things.
Right.
And
I don't mean to.
Go ahead.
And with those men not holding up their end of things, you get a lot of the brunt of the negativity that should be going to those men.
I get a lot.
Because people like to group all men together. Well, I know a man who's a piece of shit. All of the men in the world are like that. You know, it really hurts my heart to see because I know how good of a man you are and how you go above and beyond and you do all of these great things in the shadows and never expect anyone to say thank you.
Right. Well, I don't want the gratitude.
Right.
I just want life to be happy. I want people to enjoy themselves.
You're a good man. And knowing that you're getting the brunt of the anger for the men who actually deserve that, it sucks to see.
Right. And you got to keep in mind too that people have had shitty relationships.
Right.
And every one of those shitty relationships, they're only blaming the other person instead of being like, well, you know, I did X, Y, Z.
Right.
And then they did X, Y, Z and we were both at fault. They're just like, well, screw them and they did this and blah, 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 blah. And there's no accountability there.
Right.
And that's also a problem for me. So when I hear that frustrates me. But I'm learning to let a lot of that go because it's not my job to hold that. I don't have to hold the weight of the world. Somebody's done that for us already. I get to just
relax.
Right. And that's what I'm doing. I'm giving it up and I'm just doing my thing now. And I hope that I'm changing lives. And I hope that people can see this and realize that you can have a traditional relationship. JJ does dishes. And on holidays, Brandon, my brother, will do dishes as well.
Right.
So in the event that, sorry for that cut, guys, I said something I shouldn't have said because we have an agreement not to disclose certain things about our lives and I slipped. So that weird cut that's going to be in that edit is 100% my fault and she caught it. So good on you, babe.
Thank you.
Sorry I did that. But on holidays when Danielle and Amy cook, Brandon and JJ do dishes.
Right.
And the one time that I was there for a holiday for a meal, Brandon was like, "Mom, Chris isn't doing dishes." I'm like, "I'm a guest. I ain't doing dishes." And I totally weaseled my way out of having to do dishes.
I like how you weaseled your way out.
Because I don't want to do that. I would have taken the trash out. I'd have washed their car.
Done their laundry.
Yeah. You want to talk about us being on a weird wavelength? Have we talked about the car thing on the podcast yet?
I don't think so.
I don't.
Talk about it?
I do.
Okay.
I don't. So you and I have this for everybody that's listening right now. The rest of this podcast is going to be completely irrelevant to emails.
Yes.
We are about to have some conversations that are in my little handy dandy positivity notebook over here. I have to name my notebook. He's going to get a name. I don't know what it'll be yet.
Frank.
Okay. Well, Frank has got some pertinent information that I want to give out. But you and I get on the same wavelength a lot and
daily.
It's freaky.
Yeah.
Like I will send you a text message and you're like, I was just typing that.
Yeah.
Or we'll be driving and you'll say something and I'll be like, get out of my head. It happens constantly.
It just happened on the couch.
It did. It happened today. It happens a lot. So, I'm going to say this and she's going to hear this.
Do you want to skip it?
No, because I haven't made the decision yet.
Okay.
And I'm going to get a lecture. Anyways, I'm going to do it anyways because I've already started it. So now I can't just cut it out.
Okay.
We were there one day and I asked her about the car situation because they have one pickup truck. JJ has a vehicle that's in the shed that's not working. And I wanted to know why and how they navigate their day if he's at work and my mom needs to go to a doctor's appointment or whatever. How does that work? If she needs to go out of town for something, he has to go to work. How do they do it with one car? And so I was just generally asking questions and we got in the car and the moment the door shut, you looked at me and was like, "You're going to buy your mom a car, aren't you?" I was like, "What? How did you do that? What are you doing?" And I was like, was that obvious? I was like, how do you even get to that point? Because I didn't say anything about wanting to buy her a car. And you were just on it.
I just knew.
You were so on it.
Yeah.
It's wild to me how in tune we are with things.
Yeah. I like
crazy. I don't even remember why I brought that up at this point.
I don't either.
Probably because I said wash the car, if that's what she wanted me to do.
Maybe, yeah.
She's going to hear this. I'm going to get a text message. Do not buy me a car. Well, I haven't yet, so.
Also, can't tell me what to do.
I am an adult. I am an adult with my own adult money.
That is correct.
Man. All right. Let's get into Frank over here. Let's open up Frank.
Are you hungry?
I'm always hungry, but yeah, I actually ate right before we sat down, remember?
I'm getting peckish.
Yeah. Are you going to DoorDash something?
Maybe.
So I have two things that I want to talk about. First, I'm so glad I was talking, and I have to remember that I was talking and cutting that because I just watched you swipe your phone across your tit.
There was dust.
I made a TikTok while we were at the beach that said, when was the last time that you went on
A date.
A
spontaneous
date and had a moment with your partner. And I got a lot of positive feedback on TikTok.
Right.
Because we were smiling and having a good time. We were on the other coast. Like we just got a hotel for a night. And because I have a Marriott Bonvoy card, like credit card, I get free points every time I do stuff, and we get a lot of free night coupons.
We do.
So when I get the email that there's a free night coupon, we're going to go somewhere in Florida and use that coupon. I'm not going to let that expire. I'm using that coupon because it's free.
Right.
And all it's going to cost me is gas. Let's go. Like that's a super cheap adventure. And we were over there, and like we ended up hitting up a Barnes and Noble, which we don't even have one of those in our town. We have Books A Million, and it's a rundown shithole.
Yeah.
But so we hit up a Barnes and Noble and walked around and bought a couple books and some magazines, and you got Bible tabs for your Bible, and you looked at cases, and we had a good time. It was a good trip. Had some KFC chicken pot pie, which is not as good as your pot pie, but it was real crust, which was nice for me because carbs.
Thank you for saying that. It's also the first time in a while because we don't have a a KFC near us. The closest one's like 30 minutes away.
We have one that's a Taco Bell KFC combined, and I'm not eating that.
They removed it. It's just a Taco Bell now. Yeah.
Well, that's probably because other people were like, I'm not eating that. Damn, I didn't realize that was the thing. We have a Popeyes.
Yeah, but Popeyes, I had it the first day that they opened because I never had Popeyes.
Yeah.
After that first day, it's been shit. You can tell it was run by a bunch of teenagers.
Yeah. Most fast food places are. So anyways, I want to talk about date nights. Yes. And I want to get in depth a little bit because I know that there are people that don't watch the YouTube videos, and there's a lot of this content on YouTube. But for people who only listen to our podcast, I feel like this is good to do.
Yeah.
We've talked at length about people who have a stay-at-home person, whether it be the man or the woman, getting burnt out because they're no longer doing things that bring them enjoyment.
Right.
Everybody gets into the roommate phase at some point in a relationship, and there's an importance in making sure that you continue the spontaneous dates, that you continue to do things that make you want to dress up and to get back to that dating phase. And I wrote down on here, date nights / date your wife, because once you land that woman and you are now married and you're both working and grinding and you're getting older and you're not, as energetic, and you find yourself tired at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you just want to go home and eat and go to bed, because a lot of hardworking people feel that way on both sides of the fence. Do you remember what it felt like to date? To go out and like have dinner and have conversations and hold each other's hands and sit in the same side of the booth and pay for their meal and like, open the door for them and smack their butt when they walk by or give them the compliments. And like, that is the lusting phase. That's when men are willing to chase what they lust for, because, they say men will chase what they lust, not what they love, because chasing what you love hurts you. So when men are trying to land a woman, they'll chase that lust. But that lust is the most exciting part of the honeymoon phase. It's the want to be around that person and the want to experience life with them. When we get to that point where we are run down all the time, that goes away. And I've said over and over and over again in these podcasts, when you have no energy for anything, it certainly means you have no energy for intimacy. So when you're overworked, you're underplayed, you don't want to do shit, you just want to get the kids to bed and go to sleep, you're touched out because kids are a mess. All of these things that happen. Men, for the case, if you work outside, you're drained by the time you get home, you're dehydrated, you just want a hot meal and to get your boots off. It's hard.
Right.
But if you know you're not working Saturday and Sunday, you need to pull that time, even if it's 2 hours. I'm going to take 2 hours and like 30 minutes before you leave, be like, hey, I got to sit, or I need you to go get ready.
Right.
You'd be like, what? Yeah, go get ready. Where are we going? Just go get ready. And then get in the car and just drive somewhere. Even if it's to a pizza place.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It's the excitement of you guys are about to go on a date. There's no kids. You get to have intimacy with your partner. When is the last time you had a spontaneous date with your partner? I want it in the comments. I want dialogue. I want you guys to tell me what it was. Tell me what the dates were. Tell me how you felt. Tell me what you wore.
Yeah.
Tell me what you had at dinner, what they drank. I want all of the details. I want you to relive that moment over and over and over again if that was the last time and if it's been more than a week.
Right.
And if it's been more than a week, it's your turn to spontaneously take your partner on a date. I don't care if you're a woman making a date for a man. Go.
You trying to tell me something?
No, we're
because I'm about to say it's been a week.
Well,
and you did the last one.
It hasn't been a week. We got back Monday.
Right. We're coming up on a week.
It's Thursday, babe.
I know that gives me like 3 days to plan.
It's been
It's not a lot of time.
It's been 3 days. Breathe. I want to go to the Keys.
I'll drive you to the Keys.
No, you won't.
Let's leave Saturday night.
We can go to the Keys. That's fine.
This weekend?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We'll do it. I don't care. I've never been to the Keys.
I love it.
I want to go take pictures. So
it's very colorful.
We can make that work.
Oh my God.
That wasn't the point though.
Right. I know. I was joking.
I know.
But it's just led into something and I'm super excited about it now.
I want people to feel what you're feeling right now.
Right.
That's what I want. I want you to be married for 20 years and to be like infatuated with your partner again.
I want people who have been married for 5 years to feel this way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like after that 3-year mark, that's when things kind of start to
I think
fall off. That's what I've noticed with the people in my life.
I've seen it happen as quick as a year.
Wow.
If people start dating and move in right away and they don't know each other and they have those quirks, and if they have kids, it falls off. Like there's a whole lot of things that can happen.
Right.
But for people who've served a life sentence in marriage 20 years, it is a life sentence.
Right.
You could kill somebody and do less time at that point, you know. Not advocating that.
Disclaimer.
But I want people to enjoy that and have that passion and that intimacy and that enjoyment because I genuinely enjoy you. And we're way past the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Oh yeah, it's still going for me.
There are days where I'm run down and I have to force that initial engagement.
Right.
But once it happens, I'm like, oh, this is why I feel like this. I remember this is why I do these things.
Yeah.
And even if it's a bad borderline day where I'm having a day and I'm having one. I messaged you this morning like I'm falling apart today.
Right.
You got home and I made it a point to lay on top of you and kiss you on the couch while we watch TV.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do that. I could have stayed on my side of the couch and dwelt on my bullshit.
Right.
But that little bit of intimacy, you sitting in my lap or me laying on top of you.
Yeah, I did make it a point when I got home to sit on your lap.
Right. It just, you're throwing logs and pine needles and pine cones and all the things that are going to make that fire really start to go again. And it doesn't take much. And I know that people get burnt out and stressed out. I get it, especially when it comes to finances. Believe me, I get it. That little bit, hour, 2 hours, once a week where you're with your partner and you're making them a priority. The kids don't matter right now. The house doesn't matter right now. The car payments, the businesses, the shitty employees that you work with, all your coworkers, the dumb arguments that you had throughout the week, cell phones, none of that matters because you have 2 hours with the person that you love the most in this world that you can be completely engaged with.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Do you want to know something I think about a lot?
Yes. Because I've been rambling over here.
When we agreed that we were dating and we were committed, the first night that you came over to my apartment, we just sat on the couch and watched TV. You held my feet. Like, that's all we did. We got up. I gave you a kiss. I hugged you. You walked out. I had that full fucking 80s moment, like my back against the wall, swooning, sliding to the floor.
Did you actually do that?
Oh my God, like that man just kissed me.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm getting goosebumps.
That's so funny. Because I can see your apartment and I can see you sliding down the wall.
It happened.
But how is it that we were actually seeing each other at that point and I hadn't tried to sleep with you yet?
Right. Oh, that was absolutely insane. That was wild for me. Like there was flirting.
Yeah, of course.
We would say things to each other. It took a few hangouts before you actually made a move. I was blown away.
Yeah.
It was crazy for me. But I bring up that memory of me being like, oh my God, like he just kissed me. Like this is happening. Like this is my real life. I still get moments like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you walk out of the bathroom after brushing your teeth before we lay down, like I'll watch you in the mirror and be like, oh my God, it's him. He was leaving my apartment and now he's heading to our bed. That's a cool, fuck. Oh, sorry.
Well, you hit the F-bomb now too. Jeff started working on your silly goose. Yep, I got a photo of it this morning.
Oh my God.
Top hat, monocle, curly mustache, cane, the whole nine.
Can he add like a little goatee? I want a goatee on it.
I told him to just do the French mustache thing.
Can we add a goatee?
Maybe. We'll see what he's done with it. He's working right now. So
okay.
I'm going to get a new Gatorade because I'm out of fluid and I'm thirsty. Actually, you know what? I have lemon water.
I'm just going to surprise you for lunch.
Okay.
I love that you trust me.
It's not like I'm hard to...
No, it's also I know what you like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I eat the same 4 things over and over and over again. AJ wanted me to make some content about the divorce situation.
Okay.
And I'm going to appease him because I understand why he wants us to make the content, but I think that it's going to benefit people.
Right.
We have had a lot of TikToks where we've explained this. So for the people that follow us on TikTok, I know that you've heard this conversation. So bear with me. If you don't follow us on TikTok and you're new to the podcast, this may be value to you. And if not, then listen anyways, because it continues to drive us in the algorithm. Do you want to elaborate on that, or would you like me to just jump into that?
So I can elaborate on it. We had one discussion of what would happen if we ever got divorced. And that was in regards to the prenup.
Right.
And the prenup benefits both of us, which I want to clarify because I want people in the comments, oh my God, you just signed a prenup and nothing. Blah, blah, blah. It benefits both of us. That was the only time we've discussed a divorce.
Right.
This is actually the first time we're saying that word since that conversation.
It is. Well, unless we're talking specifically about
right.
other people.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the first time we're referring it to like in this context about us.
I agree.
We don't have that conversation. Even in arguments, it's not, well, if you don't like it, there's the door.
Right.
We are in this.
Yeah.
We are not going to plant the seeds of one day I'm going to mess up and that's going to be the final straw. They're going to walk away.
Right. You've actually had it it was our first real argument. You actually said it twice. The first time I let it ride because you were crying, and I don't do the crying thing.
Right.
Second time you were not crying and you were still emotional, but you weren't sobbing. And you were like, "Why do you even want to be with me?" And I'm like, "Don't you ever say that to me again."
Yeah.
And I was mean about it. Like I was very matter of fact. F you, don't you ever talk to me like that again.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that. I don't want that to be on the table. I don't want it to be weaponized. I don't want it to be a seed that's planted that's growing in our brain. The idea, because we've both been divorced, we've both failed. I don't want to do that again.
Right.
I don't want, and I'm guilty of this. I'm not saying anything that I haven't done before. I've done all of this. I believe that I traumatized my ex-wife with divorce jokes. And I know because I would see a sign on the side of the road and be like, divorce $350, because they're everywhere down here, cheap divorce prices.
Right.
And I'd point it out and be like, only $350, that's a deal. We should do that. Like trying to be funny. And it really wasn't funny. And she told me later on, like, stop making divorce jokes. You're hurting my feelings. It never even dawned on me that was a thing for her until she said something.
Right.
And I'm also notorious for being Mr. I can do this on my own. I don't need anyone. And if you don't want to be in my life, the door is right there. Do you want me to open it for you? Because I'm a gentleman.
Right.
And I'll close it behind you when you walk out. Just know that you're not coming back in that door. And I've said shit like that to exes. I've said it to friends. And like all hindsight, it's crystal clear. I see how much damage those things have done.
Right.
So when we started courting, I made it very clear that it's not something we're going to do. And I told you ahead of time, like we were going to have to discuss the potentiality of a divorce because of a prenup. And then when we do that, we need to know you are entitled to get this. Everything else is mine because it was mine when you came into the picture.
Right.
They were my businesses. You didn't help build them. For everybody that doesn't know, the life that you are having right now is because of the work that I've previously done and am still doing, and now you're helping me with. In the event that we open other businesses like this, if this actually becomes a big thing and we ever got divorced, we would have to figure out who gets the podcast.
Right.
If we wanted to do that or continue doing it or shut it down, if this actually becomes like a legitimate business.
Right.
In the event that we kept it, it would be a 50-50 business. Everything that I own coming in is mine. Everything that we build together is ours. And then we would figure that out. And there's things in there that guarantee you that you are never going to be out on your ass because you're a stay-at-home wife.
Right.
You have a contention plan for months while you get back on your feet. Although we are going to continue to do your apprenticeship so that you can actually have a trade. Right. Because trade jobs pay better than regular jobs. I believe that divorce and having that on the table is a weaponized scenario.
It is.
Because then you can use it as a tool of manipulation. When you don't like the way something's going, a man or woman, you could be like, if you don't like it, we can get divorced.
Right.
And then if the other person is madly in love and infatuated, still they're going to be like, oh, wait. I don't want to do that.
Right.
Now you have control because you are threatening divorce and the other person doesn't want that. And it's forcing them to change.
Yeah, it's forcing them to submit to you.
Right. And that's not submission the way that I see it.
Right.
That's not a good submission. That's slavery. And that's the difference between what we have in our traditional values and the decision to submit. I almost stuttered that one out.
Yeah.
Because submitting because you're in love and you want to is a very different thing than a forced submission. So because it's not on the table, it cannot be weaponized. There's not going to be a scenario where either one of us are ever going to throw that into each other's face.
Right.
In the event that that gets brought up, it's because we're initiating documents. That's not a thing. I don't want that. I don't want to have a conversation of, I don't even want you sleeping on the couch.
Right.
If you're mad at me, you're going to have to get over that. Like my big ass hand is going to rest on your hip and you ain't going nowhere.
Right.
I understand that you have like a cough thing going.
Yeah. So I have asthma.
Right.
And when I get into coughing fits, they become intense. So at night, that's when they mainly happen. Like if I'm sick and I start coughing, it turns into a coughing fit almost every time. I am not going to lay in bed and keep you awake with my coughing fits.
Right.
So I go and I sleep on the couch.
And it bothers the shit out of me every time. I respect it. And I love that you let me sleep because I barely sleep as it is. And when I do sleep, I'm very rarely in REM sleep. I don't dream very much. I don't ever get into that deep of a sleep. I'm such a light sleeper that the moment I snore, I can wake myself up.
Right.
Almost every time. And if I don't wake myself up, you know I'm out. Like good dreams are happening or horrible ones. Either way, I'm sleeping. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I know when you get up and go out of the room because I can hear your feet on the wooden floor and then the door shut. And every time I'm like, okay, I got to get up and go out there. But I know that you're going out there because you can't breathe and you're coughing and you're trying not to keep me awake and we're trying to be respectful of each other. But I don't like it when you're not in the room with me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't normally sleep in much once you get up with the kids when the kids are here. And like I'm getting to the point now where I don't want to get out of bed when I get up in the middle of the night because I will start my day at 2 a.m. sometimes. I don't give a shit. If I go to bed at 10 and I wake up at 2 and I can't go back to sleep, I'm up. And my entire life, I've just gotten out of bed and I've started my day. I've played on the computer, I've played on my phone, watched TV, journaled, whatever. Went to the gym in some cases at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I know that if I get out of bed, you're going to come out of bed and you're going to put on your eye shades and you're going to lay on the couch with your feet across me and you're going to sleep on the couch while I'm doing what I'm doing. In the event that I got to get up, I'm going to wake you up. In the event that I come back, sit back down, I'm going to wake you up. So I've gotten to the point where I'll just lay in bed and play on my phone because I know that you'll stay in bed and sleep. And that's what happened this morning between 2 and 4 o'clock because I don't want you not in the room with me. So like, that's not even a thing for me. When we get into heated discussions or arguments, I'm not letting you go to sleep until we resolve whatever's going on. You can still be frustrated with me, but I need to know that we've resolved this because in the event that we go to bed and you still are frustrated and I die of a heart attack because I'm an old man in my 70s, just somebody actually said that to me.
Yeah, someone did actually say that.
Twats.
I like that word.
Yeah. Well, as the other one was going to start with a C and I don't want to get a flag. So
That's exactly where my mind went.
Yep. Same meaning, just much more polite.
Right.
Yeah. Because, it's all about your manners.
Yeah. We're gentlemen here.
I hate people. Anyways, I don't want our last conversation to ever be one of hostility.
Right.
I don't want one of us to have to live on without the other one knowing that we were a piece of shit to each other because we couldn't control our emotions.
Right.
So, we've never actually had a fight at nighttime. All of our 3 arguments have all started between breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
It's
By
like,
dinner it's resolved.
It's like we know that we're going to want to sleep that night, so we pick those fights early in the morning so that we can get them over with.
Right.
It's tactical fighting. So that was what AJ wanted to hear.
Yeah.
He wanted to know why we don't use divorce and why we don't talk about that and why that's not an option. I also want to add that with my borderline and my abandonment issues and the way that my brain works, that is one of the hardest things that I've ever had to overcome. Because in my brain, the moment you are unhappy with me, you're leaving. And there's nothing that I can do logically to stop that. The abandonment thing is such a prevalent thing with people with borderline. And because of my past, it's expected.
Yeah. That's why I make it a point.
Childhood past, like 25 and younger past. Obviously, as I've gotten older, I've been able to deal with things a lot differently. And people have been around longer. And I have lifelong friends now and shit like that. But and I think that comes down with me being able to handle my borderline differently.
Right.
But that's a thing. So in the event that we get angry or you get angry at me or you're off or you're processing, which sometimes looks like the silent treatment and feels like the silent treatment, although you will still talk to me, it only happens when I'm engaging you in conversation and it's calm. But because I'm the one that has to constantly engage the conversation, I feel like it's not wanted. It's no different than when somebody has to constantly engage sex. They feel like they're not wanted.
Right.
And that's a whole nother conversation that I would like to have too. The engaging in intimacy thing.
Yeah.
We should probably do that today.
So while you're doing that, can I touch on the tattoo thing?
You can touch whatever you want. Hot Pocket.
So I got your name tattooed on me.
Yeah.
It's on my stomach. Mm-hmm. Worst tattoo I've ever gotten. Super painful.
Pain-wise. Okay.
Oh, God. I sobbed.
I was like, don't tell me you regret it.
No, I don't. Growing up, that's something I swore I'd never do.
Right.
I would never get a man's name on me. It was going to be my kids and that's it.
Yeah.
And then you came into my life and just freaking earthquake.
Ripped everything up, uprooted everything, set it back down in a new place and be like, you can grow over here now.
And you're going to grow healthily too. Healthily.
You're going to live mo better.
So, I got your name tattooed on me because I firmly believe, like, I never thought I'd spend the rest of my life with one person. Mm-hmm. I thought either I was going to have a string of bad relationships or I'd end up alone and miserable. You coming into my life the way you did and the way that things are evolving and how we're on the same path, but we're on it individually, but we're growing together. I just know, like, you're going to be the rest of my life. And I got your name tattooed on me. I came home that day with my fresh tattoo and you hit me with, it's really going to suck if you ever have to get that covered up.
I was trying so hard to be funny in that moment. And you were like, what the fuck did you just say to me? And I'm like, oh, that was my second F-bomb too. That one was intentional though, because of the context. But
that you saying that was akin to me, you telling me we're going to get divorced.
Yeah, I know. You told me. That made me feel like utter trash. Because I was just trying to be funny in the moment.
Right.
Because you had such a hard time with the tattoo.
And in that moment, I don't think you realized how impactful that was. Like how I don't think in the past you realized how impactful it was to say, oh, $300 for a divorce.
Right.
So me telling you that hurt my feelings. That was me trying to be like, hey, it's kind of the same thing. Yeah. And you apologize.
That made me feel horrible.
I don't think I even had to tell you that it bothered me.
No.
Because I was doing something. I was taking a bath or I left to go do something, whatever. You texted me and said I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. And then that's when I told you, like, yeah, it kind of hurt me a little bit.
Yeah.
But
there's when people try to be funny.
Yeah.
Jokes are. I'm one of those people that jokes are always appropriate, even if they're dark and really like morbid or wrong, as long as they're actually a good joke.
Right.
Because I'm not easily offended. You know. So when I did that, I was really trying to be funny. I was trying to make fun of the fact that you were crying while getting tattooed and had to drink a bunch of my whiskey to finish the job. And like, it was totally about the process for you and having to get another tattoo on your stomach. My torso's done. I have like this much space on the front of my stomach.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the hell I'm going to put there because it's such an odd space that I'm just going to fill it. And I don't want dots or stars. Like, and at this point, I don't think I want any more demons tattooed on me because I have a lot of them.
You do.
So, it was like your stomach's still not done. And what if you have to get your stomach done again? And after it came out, I was like, ugh. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just me showing you, like, even though you've recognized that, there were things that you wouldn't even correlate.
Right.
Because you're just trying to make me feel better. So even in those moments, that's a growth opportunity.
Yeah, it is.
And it's super important. Like if your partner says something and it bothers you or it hurts your feelings, voice it. Don't let that ride.
Yeah. And do it in the moment. Don't do it 2 or 3 days later when everything is going good. You've had time to dwell on it because you're going to decline emotionally because you're harboring onto something that's bothering you and you're not letting it out. It's like swallowing poison to harm your enemy. You can't do that.
It could also be that in that scenario, it's wrong. If it's a few days later and like you're really thinking about it and then you recognize it starts to bother you, don't bring it up in a shitty way. Just say like, hey babe, do you remember saying this the other day? And they could say yes, they could say no, and just say, I've really thought about it and I'm starting to recognize that really bothered me. It hurt my feelings a little bit. And it's not the way that you delivered it. I know that wasn't your intention. I just want you to know in my mind, this is how I define what you said and I don't like that.
Right.
And then it's upon your partner to either respect you and say, okay, like I understand that wasn't my intention. I won't do it again. Or they can be a complete asshole. Yeah. You can't control other people's actions, but you can control how you conduct yourself.
Yeah. Old me would have deflected that entire scenario as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I wasn't trying to hurt your feelings or trying to be that way. I was trying to crack a joke. Mm-hmm. And I would have felt the need to defend myself and get defensive because what I was saying and what you were hearing were 2 different things, even though that's actually what I said.
Right.
But I'm willing to just stop it doesn't matter how or why or whatever. I'm willing to stop and be like, I really shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was going to come across that way, or it's no different than the first time I raised my voice. I immediately stopped. I was like, I'm so sorry. I love you. I don't want to do that.
Right.
But it's a self-recognition thing. Like I am actively trying to be better because of all of the things that I did wrong previously. I don't want to repeat those patterns. And most people don't care to make the changes because it's so easy to go, well, they did this and they did that and I did this, but they did that.
Right.
And that doesn't justify.
The deflecting.
It doesn't matter what they did if you are not willing to accept what you did.
Right.
And you did something. I guarantee you did something. Let him without sin cast the first stone. Somebody every day is doing something. So you don't get to be the victim.
Right.
Now, am I saying that everything is your fault? Absolutely not.
No.
People are responsible for their own actions. But you have choices always. There's always choices. Even if that choice is simply the way you respond.
Right.
That is your choice.
It is.
This thing has become like a little tinker toy for me.
I love that.
So, should I plug them?
Why not?
I've spent so much money there, and they did send me a giant piece of silver. I am a huge fan of clocks and colors. Their rings are super nice. That's this one. I have like 6 other rings in there. Yeah, I have a ring for almost every one of my fingers besides my wedding finger from them. And then I bought my necklace from them, which they sent super fast. I got it the next day, which blows my mind because they never ship that fast from Canada. They sent me this giant skull with a stamp on the back of it for free.
Super tiny in your hand.
It does look really small in my hand. This thing's heavy though. Like it's solid
Right, it
silver.
does have weight
it's not
to it.
solid obviously because it's hollow inside, but it's silver. And they sent it as a thank you because I keep buying their shit.
Right.
And because of that, that falls into what's known as the rule of reciprocation. When you give somebody something as a business, they are more inclined to spend money because they feel like you've given them something they have to tip better or give more money. So they tend to buy more shit. And I got this and was like, man, now I have to buy something because it came with my necklace. And obviously I'm not going to because I've spent a lot of money with them. And if they come out with a new ring that I like, I might buy one because obviously I'm not even wearing my rings.
Right.
But I do wear them based off of how I'm feeling. So in a day where I'm feeling like I want to wear my hourglass death ring, I'll wear that one. Or if I want to wear the other turquoise ring that I have that's way bigger than this one, I'll wear that one. And I've got one that's got like an octopus skull thing on it. And like I have a lot of their rings, but I never bought one of their necklaces until recently. And I got this big old skull.
I love that.
That's pretty random. For those of you who are not on YouTube, you don't get to see what I'm holding. Ha ha.
How unfortunate.
We're an hour and 46 minutes in.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the intimacy conversation?
Well, I wanted to elaborate a little bit on what you just said.
Okay.
So you said that people can choose how they react to something. So you said that to me as a joke about my tattoo.
Right.
You could 100% been like, you can't take a joke.
Yeah, I could have.
You definitely could have. When you react that way, you are 100% invalidating your partner.
Right. It's showing that you're not listening to what they're feeling.
Right. It's super important to put yourself in their shoes. Even if they're coming at you in a hostile way, like, I can't believe you would have said this to me. How could you have not known that was going to bother me?
Right.
You can take it upon you to de-escalate that situation. You can say, I meant it as a joke. I hear that you're saying it's bothering you. I won't phrase it like that again.
Right.
Or I just won't make jokes like that again. They're going to go from 100 to 10 and be like, oh my God, you're not going to argue with me about it?
Right.
You're actually listening?
Most of the time it would go from 100 to 10. There are going to be people who have not ever experienced that who's going to continue to harp and freak out because of a trauma response, and they're expecting that engagement. And in that scenario, they also have to realize that they can choose to respond to situations.
The first time you hit me with, I hear you, I'm sorry, I was like, what the fuck did he just say to me? Are you... You're respecting me?
That's kind of how that played out. You did stutter quite a bit afterwards.
I did.
And I was like, are you okay? And you're like, I don't know what to say. And I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I know that I messed up or whatever it was at that moment. And you were like, you said something else. I'm like, babe, if you want to fight, we can fight, but there's not a need. Like, I realized what I did or said was wrong. Like, I'm
almost certain this conversation happened in the car too.
Yeah, I'm almost positive it did. I think it happened after lunch that day.
That was a crazy ride for me. Yeah. Wow.
But it doesn't take much. And in that scenario, simply acknowledging their emotions. You don't have to agree with what's going on. You could be right as rain. But you making yourself right in that argument is not winning shit.
Right.
If you hurt your partner, you hurt your partner. And if you stop for a minute and be like, okay, she's hurting or he's hurting,
Right.
and be like, all right, look, I'm sorry that I said what I said. I obviously see that you're hurting. I did not intend for that to be the case.
Right.
That's enough. 90% of the time, that's enough. You may still have a conversation afterwards,
Right.
and you may still feel like you're attacked because that's going to happen. People are going to feel like they're being attacked. And it sucks when somebody you love is hurting because of something you did.
Right.
And when people feel bad about something like that, they may not handle it the best. But when you diffuse the situation immediately, if they choose to respect that diffusion and they acknowledge the fact that you are acknowledging their hurt, you then can respond in a normal, calm conversation. Thank you for acknowledging that it hurt me. I appreciate that you're not never going to do that again. At that point, in reality, the conversation doesn't need to go on. You can change the subject. You can have a normal conversation, even if you're still bothered by it, because the pain's not going to go away just because somebody apologized.
Right.
But the way that you conduct yourself for the rest of the afternoon or evening is going to dictate the way that your evening goes.
Right.
So once that has been resolved, even if you're still hurting, try to make an effort to talk about something else. Talk about the cars on the road. Talk about your favorite movie.
Right.
Talk about the date that you had 3 days ago. Talk about future plans. We could talk about Iceland. We could talk about new cars that we want. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Talk about anything because you are basically letting that person know that their validation of your feelings is heard and seen. And instead of continuing to harp or nag, because everybody loves to call their women naggers, like, I can't believe you just nag all the time. It's all you do is, I'm so tired of the nagging. They're nagging for a reason.
Right.
As those toxic behavioral traits change, that nagging will decrease because there's no reason to have an argument once the situation's been resolved and both people have been heard.
Right.
Grown up shit.
Yeah. I think it's also important for the person who's hurt. If your partner is acknowledging that they've hurt you and they're willing to change their behaviors, I think it's important for you to hear them out on why they did what they did. It's going to help you better understand the way that their brain works. Like with you making the joke. Even though I took that as an attack and like, one day you're going to leave me hearing you say, I just meant that as a joke, it helps me understand your humor better.
Right.
So in an instance where there's an argument about something, your partner hurts you, after they've acknowledged your hurt, ask them, how did you perceive what you did?
Right.
What was your intentions with what you did? Because 9 times out of 10, like with my trauma responses, I overreact to situations.
Right.
I don't do it anymore, but I did. And my overreactions were unwarranted. It was not a logical reaction on my end.
Right.
So hearing somebody explain the intentions behind what they were doing helped calm me down.
Right.
Because if I'm viewing something illogically, I need to know that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that's the difference in the understanding the way your partner communicates thing that we talk about all the time, because you needed to know, like, I meant that as a joke.
Right.
Excuse me. Had I just said, all right, babe, sorry. This is not a genuine apology.
Right.
I was only trying to be funny. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I love you. I didn't mean it like that.
Right. You even said, I don't want to plant the seed for that.
Right. That is a very different conversation. Then you need to relax. I was joking.
Right.
The delivery, the tone, the inflection, the words chosen to articulate the moment, not validating. That changes the entire dynamic of the way that conversation is had. We didn't fight over that.
No, we didn't.
It was literally a 30-second interaction and it was completely over with. We went back to our lives just as normal as right as rain.
Right.
We didn't have any type of conflict afterwards. It was just a normal day. But you were legit bothered by it.
I was.
But I didn't argue and fight with you. I saw that you were bothered. I explained me because I did feel like I needed to explain myself, but I did it in a way that was not
it wasn't you
abrasive.
defending, right? It was an explanation.
Right.
Nobody was wrong in that scenario.
Sorry, I get so mouth dry when we do this.
I don't think anybody was wrong in that scenario.
I was wrong because I made a joke. After it came out of my mouth, I know that joke was inappropriate.
Yeah.
Because of the context.
Right.
It was not wrong because of the way we handled it.
Right.
Had you blown up on me and I blown up on you, it would have been a huge problem.
Right.
Had you tried to just say, I see what you're doing, but that you just made me feel like divorce is now on the table. And I was like, it's a joke, just calm down.
Right.
I'm wrong there because instead of listening to what you're saying and realizing that I hurt you, I'm defending myself to try to make it seem like I'm in the right and you're wrong for what's happening. And that is so common in people's interactions.
It is.
That also comes down to having very controlling, abrasive, abusive parents where you don't get to defend yourself to them because in the event that you try to explain yourself to the parents, beatings would come, that kind of shit. So that's a normal scenario for people.
Our food's here.
All right, we're back. Yeah, we're back. So as you can see, she's got her onesie on. We are overly fed. Chick-fil-A was very yummy. I'm stuffed. I was going to just, we could have really just ended the podcast there. I think that was a really good podcast. And I am excited to edit it so that I can listen to it. But I want to hit this last thing on intimacy.
Okay.
We get comments about intimacy a lot because I talk about intimacy.
Right.
And the comments are always the same shit. There's always people saying things like, oh, I'm so full. There's people saying things like, intimacy isn't just sex. I hear that constantly. And I'm like, I never once said intimacy was just sex.
Right.
I have actually made multiple videos talking about spiritual intimacy, physical intimacy, emotional. I've covered it at Gambit, like at length. Gambit's not the right word there. I don't know where that came from, but it came out. We've heard a lot of other things on intimacy, like
it always just dies in a relationship.
Yeah, or I'm touched out.
Yeah.
What else? What else do we get?
Why would I want to be intimate with him when he only does that when he wants sex?
Yeah.
He only shows affection when he wants sex.
The other ones are, I see it a lot. Men don't know how to warm the engine up, so to speak. I see that a lot, or a variation of that analogy. And
why put that on the internet? Why not just have a conversation with him?
That's a really
that blows my
good
mind.
question.
Like, what am I going to do for you, Janice?
Calm down, Karen.
Why are you telling me your husband doesn't know how to get you going?
Right.
Tell him that.
How does it get to that point? How does it get to that point? I don't
complacency.
Right, laziness. Because you're doing it just because it's your duty to do it at that point, or because you feel like it's a chore or a task, but you're obligated because you're married and you can't get it from somewhere else. There's not an intimacy there. You're probably not attracted to your partner anymore, vice versa. You are tired. The kids are a mess. The house is a mess. The work is a mess. Finances are a mess. You're both probably overweight. You don't take care of yourselves physically, which means your mental health is not so great. All of these things factor into all of that. Do you ever notice that when people get divorced, they get back in shape?
Oh, yeah.
They say that getting overweight is a sign of a healthy marriage. No, it's not. It's complacency. It's laziness.
Right.
It's you letting yourself go because you don't care enough anymore about much of anything. And I'm going to catch flack for that. I don't give a shit. I said what I said.
Right.
I believe that. And if your life is different and it doesn't relate to your life, you can tell me about it in the comments. Just let me have it, because all you're going to do is build the algorithm and people are going to come to my channel to see what's going on. So have at it. But when you have, and we talked about this earlier, when you have that lack of, when you're empty, when you've given everything you have to give and you have nothing left in you, and for some reason your partner is expecting intimacy and you've given everything to the day, you are not going to have anything left to give for intimacy.
Right.
So it's important, and I think, to try not to give 100% every day. Keep it at about 80%. That way, in the event that things may pop off in the bedroom, or you need to have a really long, in-depth emotional conversation with your partner, or you want to go on a date spontaneously. What happens if your partner hears this podcast and goes, I'm going to take my partner on a spontaneous date, and it's 8 o'clock at night, he has a babysitter ready to come over, the kids are in bed because he feels more comfortable with a babysitter there while the children are sleeping, and he's like, all right, babe, let's go somewhere. And you're like, no, I'm too tired. I have a headache.
Ooh, damn.
I don't feel like going anywhere. It's been a long day. I'm just going to go to bed.
I would never try again.
There you go. And that's why intimacy dies when somebody tries to spark something up and it gets shut down.
Ooh, I was tagged in a thread on TikTok of women making fun of the fact that they hype their man up all day while they're at work, knowing that when he gets home, they're not going to give out or put out, however that phrase is.
Put out.
What?
Yeah.
That's how intimacy dies.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
When you use it as a chess piece, psychologically fucking with your man.
Yeah.
I know I said the F word, but that was intentional.
Yeah. What does it say about us as a species and where we're going? They say that, I'm quoting an article and I don't remember where I saw it, but it said that when it comes to dating, American women are at the very bottom of the barrel. compared to the rest of the world.
I can tell why.
And that, now we've got the passport bros and people trying to fly to other countries. And there's women on TikTok shaming these dudes who do it. And then there's women in other countries who are like, come on, let's go.
Right.
I'm ready for you. Let's go.
If I was a man in today's society in America, I'd be single.
No.
I wouldn't even try. Forget that. Mm-mm.
You know that as the content gets pushed across social media platforms and the narrative becomes more and more divisive between the genders and more shunning one another, it's going to further destroy any possibility of a nuclear family.
Oh, yeah.
The population's already going down. We're not birthing babies as fast as we used to. And that could be a financial thing. Obviously, I wouldn't,
Did you see that thing I sent you this morning about that mice experiment?
Was that on TikTok? Because if so, I did not.
No, it was on Facebook. This is relevant to what you were just saying. So this man performed an experiment, and he performed it 25 times, and every single time he got the same result.
Okay.
So he created a utopia for mice. Like, they would never run out of anything. They had places to exercise, good places to sleep, all that kind of stuff. And he just let them run their own society. And every single experiment ended with females being aggressive, not willing to mate with men, the boys or the male mice. And there was a new subdivision of male mice that were called the pretty boys that wouldn't fight for their own territory, would not fight to mate with a female, was just content with sleeping and eating. That was their days. And over time, they stopped repopulating. Every single one of them died off. Society collapsed.
And this happened every single time.
Every single time. He did it 25 times. Wow. I think 26, including the first one they explained it. And every single time, the generation stopped.
Right.
And for the first experiment, there was one baby mice born at the end of the experiment, and he ended up putting it down because that was the last one in the colony.
Right.
Because they weren't mating anymore because the females were too aggressive. The male mice did not want to put up with that aggression. And then there were the pretty boy mice that were just content with sleeping and eating. They didn't want to mate. They didn't want territory. And they ended up killing themselves off.
I'm going to have to watch this now because it sounds like they're making a mice reference about humanity.
At the end of it, it said this is exactly what's happening in society right now.
That's wild.
But there's photos, from I think it was 1950s or 1940s. There's photos of him doing this experiment. And that's exactly what you just said.
How do you create a mouse utopia? How do we know exactly what mice like?
That's a really good question.
Right? You know that Jordan B. Peterson said that mice in captivity are the only mice that will become addicted to cocaine?
I believe that.
That if mice are free to do their own thing, they won't mess with drugs.
Okay, so I just pulled up the thing. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
It's not that long. So the Universe 25 experiment is one of the most terrifying experiments in the history of science, which, through the behavior of colony of mice, is an attempt by scientists to explain human societies. The idea of Universe 25 came from the American scientist John Calhoun, who created an ideal world in which hundreds of mice would live and reproduce. More specifically, Calhoun built the so-called Paradise of Mice, a specially designed space where rodents had abundance of food and water, as well as a large living space. In the beginning, he placed 4 pairs of mice that in a short time began to reproduce, resulting in their population growing rapidly. However, over 315 days, their reproduction began to decrease significantly. When the number of rodents reached 600, a hierarchy was formed between them, and then the so-called wrenches appeared. The larger rodents began to attack the group, with the result that many males began to collapse psychologically. As a result, the females did not protect themselves and in turn became aggressive towards their young. As time went on, the females showed more and more aggressive behavior, isolation elements, and lack of reproductive mood. There was a low birth rate and, at the same time, an increase in mortality in younger rodents. Then a new class of male rodents appeared, the so-called beautiful mice.
They should have called them neckbeards.
They refused to mate with the females or to fight for their space. All they cared about was food and sleep. At one point, beautiful males and isolated females made up majority of the population. According to Calhoun, the death phase consisted of 2 stages, the first death and second death. The former was characterized by the loss of purpose and life beyond mere existence. No desire to mate, raise young, or establish a role within society. As time went on, juvenile mortality reached 100% and reproduction reached 0. Among the endangered mice, homosexuality was observed, and at the same time, cannibalism increased, despite the fact that there was plenty of food. 2 years after the start of the experiment, the last baby of the colony was born. By 1973, he had killed the last mouse in Universe 25. Calhoun repeated the same experiment 25 more times, and each time the result was the same.
Wow.
Calhoun's scientific work has been used as a model for interpreting societal collapse, and his research serves as a focal point for the study of urban sociology. We are currently witnessing direct parallels in today's society. Weak, feminized men with little to no skills and no protection instincts, and overly agitated and aggressive females with no maternal instincts. I read that this morning, and
wow,
my whole day was altered.
So if we are, I mean, I agree that we are right there.
We are, yeah.
Could you imagine how bad that room that those mice were in would smell? 600 of them, and then some of them dying and being cannibalized.
Yeah,
that was most of my fixation on that entire thing. I couldn't get over the fact that somebody was in a room with 600 mice smelling like that.
Yeah.
I know that like Joe Rogan has said this, and a couple other people have made the point that weak men make hard times. And, you know, he's explained that whole thing. I'm not going to reiterate that point again, but essentially we have cycles.
Right.
And right now we are in the phase of weak men, and things are starting to get real hard.
Yeah.
We're on the verge of an economic collapse.
A recession.
A depression. We're in a recession. By definition, I know that I don't care what your political affiliation is. If you look up the definition of a recession, we've been in one for 4 years, 3 years. Democrats are trying to redefine that term because that's what politicians do. They try to make the narrative fit their party. But we are on the verge of a depression, another Great Depression like we had in the 1900s.
Right.
We are also on the point of economic collapse, like true economic collapse, because if we lose the petrodollar, which is traded oil on the market in the U.S. dollar, if we lose that, which is a very strong possibility because of what's going on in Russia, Iran, and China, that's also going to destroy us. There's a lot of powers that are trying to take over right now because the chess game is coming to an end. And we don't have strong men, and we are not in a position to protect ourselves because they have destroyed us from the inside out. I have hit on these topics a lot, and like I don't care what side of the fence you fall on. If you really look at history and see where things are going, we are repeating things.
Oh yeah, we are.
And things are going to get really bad. And if they're doing, they're supposed to raise the debt ceiling again today. Today is in the 19th. They're supposed to vote on it because we hit the debt ceiling today. And if they don't take care of that, which they'll probably negotiate to raise the debt ceiling, which means America gets to spend more money, sending money to other countries that don't need their money, and continue to write bills that spend more and print more because that's what they've been doing for the last 10 years. Well, it's been longer than that. It's really been a lot longer than that, but it's gotten bad over the last 10 years. As that continues, at some point, we're going to have to stop spending. As a country, we have to stop. Printing money devalues the dollar. So we're going to, like Venezuela, where a loaf of bread is $1 million. And everyone's millionaires because nothing has value anymore. It's just paper. I've seen videos of people in other countries where this is happening, chasing garbage trucks, hoping to get food out of the back of it. And obviously, we're not quite there yet. But if things don't change with our... And I'm not saying it's Democrats' fault or Republicans' fault. It's the whole of our government that has been doing this for a very long time, and us allowing it to happen. This is going to continue, and eventually, what was that for?
We started talking about intimacy. Now we're talking about the government.
That's because of that stupid rat thing.
I find it funny how we devolve.
We really do fall apart with that shit, and I can't help myself because I have such a hatred for it. And, I'm a hardcore libertarian.
Right.
I just want my freedom and to be left alone. I would love to see us back on the gold standard. I want to see the dollar backed by actual gold. I don't want to go to a digital currency. I don't want more IRS agents. I don't want them in my business. They don't need to be in marriage. They don't need to be anything. The government needs a whole lot less power, and they need to represent us, not try to govern us, because that's what their job is. I don't understand how I know exactly how we've gotten to this point because they take it 2 inches at a time. We'll hold our line and they'll take 2 more inches, and they'll wait a little while and then they'll take 2 more inches. And every time we're like, we're not giving up any more ground. And they'll go, no, you're right. And then they'll wait a couple of years and they'll take 2 more inches. And then it'll rapidly take 4 or 5 inches, and then they'll back off a little bit, and then it'll do it again. And eventually, you're looking at where you were, and you're like, how the hell do we get here? 2 inches at a time.
Right.
I don't know.
Also distraction tactics.
Yeah, constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly. I don't even watch the news anymore.
Oh, yeah. It's look over there while we're doing this shit over here.
Yep. I gotta be honest, I get more news from what I see on TikTok and then Googling things to find it, because American news outlets doesn't cover shit.
No, they don't.
And what they do cover is exactly what you said. It's distraction tactics.
Right.
Yeah. This was supposed to be an intimacy conversation,
It was.
and because we've just derailed, I'm going to end the podcast with this, and I'm
Okay.
absolutely putting this up there.
I love that.
But I would like to do some more. We have plenty of time. It's only 4:30, and I'm overly full, so like I don't want to do shit other than sit here. So
Yeah.
you want to call this one and maybe do some Patreon content?
Okay.
Dope. We'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.